Manana Sidus, Todos Hamzu, welcome to your Guam Congress building. The Committee on Finance and Government Operations is now called to order, and the time is 0902. First notice of this public hearing was disseminated to all senators and media outlets on June 6, 2025, with its second notice disseminated on June 10, 2025. The hearing notices were also made available on the Guam Legislature's website, our legislative calendar, and the Government of Guam's public notice portal. The committee will now hear Bill number 44-38 COR introduced by the Committee on Rules by the request of Magaʹhågan Guåhan to the Governor of Guam in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriations for the operations of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30, 2026, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous and administrative provisions. Today we are hearing the budget request for the Guam Police Department, our men and women in blue, and looking sharp today. And also thank you, Chief, for gracing us this morning with the presence of a very good-looking class of recruits who are at attention now in the outer hearing room. I even saw a couple of members of Department of Corrections that were joining their men and women in blue in terms of the police cycle current. So very exciting, and very exciting for them to get exposure to this process as they become police officers and advocating for all that you do to keep our island safe. So thank you, Chief, and team, for bringing the recruits down. Joining me for this public hearing, of course, is our chairman, Senator Sean Gumatauto for Public Safety, and also Senator Tello Taitigui is joining us this morning. Thank you, Senator, for joining. Those testifying on Bill 44-38 COR relative to the Guam Police Department, please take a seat, which you have done. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone in attendance of the Legislature in Guåhan's general rules of conduct. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chairperson before speaking and shall state their full name for record-keeping purposes. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance and nature of the bill that's on the agenda. Personal inferences to the character or motive of any senator or individual testifying are not permitted. The chairperson of the committee may order the removal from the hearing of any member of the Legislature in Guåhan or the public audience who fails to observe proper decorum pursuant to the 38th Guam Legislature standing rules. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in immediate removal from this public hearing room. At this time, as is customary, I'd like to ask the members of the team with GPD that will be testifying on this budget proposal to please rise and be sworn in from our Sergeant-at-Arms. Thank you very much.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information you provide today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr. Chair, you're under oath. You may proceed.
Thank you, Sarge. Appreciate it. With that, we will now proceed to your testimony on Bill 44-38 relative to GPD. Panel, please state your name for the record and speak clearly into the mic as you make your presentation. Chief, I will start with you, and I will allow you the deference to peg the order of your support staff, command staff, as you see fit to testify on the budget this morning. So Chief Ignacio, please proceed, and then I'll turn it over to you to manage the panel. Sidus Masi.
Thank you, Senator Dueñas. Hafideng, good morning. Before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. I am Stephen C. Ignacio, the Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department. Joining me today at the table to provide testimony and answer questions is to my far left, Major Andrew Kiriguat, who oversees the Operations Bureau, and that generally oversees our SOD, Special Operations. I'm sorry, Fred Chargaleff. Andrew's over there. Sorry, Fred Chargaleff oversees now Investigations Bureau and Forensic Science Bureau. He's in charge of the Criminal Investigation Division, the detectives, Juvenile Section, and the Crime Lab folks and personnel. To my immediate left is Ms. Nelia Sonoma, and she is my Administrative Services Officer. To my immediate right is Colonel Joseph Carbolito, the Police Commander. And to my far right, and I'm going to get this right this time, Major Andrew Kiriguat. He oversees Operations Bureau. That's the Special Operations Division, Highway Patrol, and all of the police precincts. Having good morning. Senator Chris Duenas, Chairperson of the Committee of Finance and Appropriation. Senator Gumatalto, our Oversight Chair. Senator Chris Barnett, and Senator Tello Taitui. Buenas. I am Stephen C. Ignacio, the Chief of Police for the Guam Police Department, and I am here in my official capacity along with Colonel Joseph S. Carbolito and key members of the Guam Police Department to render testimony in the fiscal year 2026 Guam Police Department budget proposal. At the outset, I would like to express our sincere appreciation of the Committee of Finance and Government for their continued support and collaboration. Your partnership is vital to sustaining the level of public safety services our island community expects and deserves, while promoting operational efficiency and fiscal accountability. My testimony today provides an initial assessment of the FY2026 budget projections introduced by Governor Lourdes Leon Guerrero. GPD is requesting funding in the General Fund, Special Fund, and Federal Fund Match categories to sustain police operations throughout the fiscal year 2026. Our FY2026 budget request ensures all uniformed officers and civilian employees are effectively led, compensated, trained, and equipped. This proposal reflects a detailed collaboration with BBMR and DOA, aligning with the objectives of the current Budget Act and strategic departmental priorities. Next slide. The agenda for this presentation includes GPD's FY2026 budget proposal, the FY2026 budget allocation, federal grants, personnel statistics, GPD impact and numbers, our work statistics, our accomplishments, our infrastructure and readiness for the future, our infrastructure and capabilities enhancements, and GPD's additional requests. Next slide, please. The Guam Police Department is requesting a total of $64,923,283 between the General Fund and Special Fund, which includes the Police Services Fund, Tourist Attraction Fund, and the Police Patrol and Equipment Fund, as well as a federal fund match, which is a 3% increase from FY 2025. The distribution of funds within various appropriations categories is essential for supporting the operational, investigative, forensic, administrative, and logistical services of the Guam Police Department. Within the General Fund, $48,552,600 is allocated for personnel services, which represents 89% of the General Fund request. This funding also covers promotions for law enforcement officers, civilian staff, as well as the recruitment of 20 police officer trainees and civilian employees. The operations budget of $5,121,491, or 9%, is applied toward contractual services for copier machines, software maintenance, for automated fingerprint identification system, or AFIS, Fourier transform infrared, the FTIR, the gas chromatograph mass spectrometer, or GCMS, postal meter mail express services, leased vehicles, generator and air condition maintenance, fire alarm maintenance, canine medical services, office leases, supplies, workman's compensation, drug testing, and other miscellaneous expenses. Miscellaneous costs support local match for federal grants, annual membership fees, clothing allowances, CVPR stipends, and Crime Stoppers, while utilities cost $1,030,093, or 2% of the General Fund. The Special Fund allocation totals $5,393,370, or 91% designated for personnel costs associated with Police Services Fund and Tourist Attraction Fund. The Special Fund operations budget of $558,490, or 9%, is applied towards contractual services and supplies, with an anticipated federal grant application of $4,267,239. Next slide, please. The Guam Police Department has aggressively pursued federal funding to supplement our local budget, significantly enhancing both our operations and services. GPD has implemented a strategic agency-wide grant development plan, established strong partnership with local and federal entities, and actively engaged in national law enforcement networks to identify and secure competitive funding opportunities. As a result of these efforts, our federal grant profile has grown from 12.1 million in FY23 to 18.8 million in FY25, or a 22% increase. Also worth noting, for the first time, Guam hosted the 63rd Annual Conference on Western State Boating Administrators Association, which is a major achievement as it not only raises Guam's profile in law enforcement and maritime safety, but also strengthens collaboration and networking opportunities. It is important to note that due to the recent activity of paused federal grants, we may face some financial uncertainty on grant availabilities and GPD's planned priorities beyond the needs of local appropriations. Nevertheless, GPD remains committed to aggressively pursuing federal funding to support our needs beyond local budget appropriations. Priorities include the Maulig Task Force, community policing, technology upgrades, school violence prevention, fleet maintenance and vehicle replacement, narcotics interdiction, and counterterrorism preparedness. Next slide, please. Since 2019, the Guam Police Department initiated an aggressive recruitment campaign, resulting in 6 hiring cycles from FY 2019 through FY 2024, totaling an addition of 110 new police officers to the force, plus 13 police officer trainees in the 15th police officer training cycle. Senators, that's the cycle that you saw out in the waiting area. In addition, the 16th cycle is scheduled to commence on June 30th, 2025, the end of this month, with 17 additional police officer trainees. The top worksheet is the uniform count, beginning with the initial fiscal year full-time employee, or FTE count, separations, retirement, and total fiscal year and FTE count. The lower worksheet is the police officer trainee count, or POT count, with the initial police officer trainee count, separations, and total fiscal year end count. The data compares GPD loss in the uniform worksheet to the POT cycle total FYN worksheet, resulting in GPD's gain or loss of officers. A gain of 16 officers occurred after cycle completions in FY 2019 and FY 2020, followed by a loss of 30 officers in FY 21 through FY 2024. As a result, the departments experienced a net loss of 14 officers between fiscal years 2019 and 2024. As you can see, FY 2025, as of May 31st, 2025, is already facing a net loss of 1 officer. The organization continues to experience challenges related to employee attrition. The data suggests that personnel are leaving at a rate that offsets new hires, primarily due to retirement or resignation. Projections indicate that this trend is expected to persist in the near future, meaning that workforce stability remains a concern. This manpower shortage significantly affects workplace stability and underscores the need for enhanced retention strategies to grow and maintain a robust and effective police force. Through the continued support of Governor Lourdes A. Leon Guerrero and Lieutenant Governor Joshua F. Tenorio, the department was able to implement the following recruitment and retention strategies. Recruitment incentives for police officer trainees. June 2024, a pay adjustment of 25.59% amended the law enforcement pay plan. This plan increased a POT hourly rate from $1,401, or $29,140.80 annually, to $1,759, or $36,580 per annum. In addition, on May 2025, the Department of Administration, or DOA, posted the updated police officer trainee job announcement that reflects the new rate and is a continuous announcement as well. Retention incentives. A 10% retention incentive was implemented for all newly recruited police officer trainees through the Sergeant 2 positions, while a 15% retention incentive has been applied to police lieutenants, captains, majors, and the colonel. In June 2024, a pay adjustment 25.59% was implemented and reflected on the updated law enforcement pay plan. Per Public Law 37-125, an approved retention bonus of $10,000 for uniformed personnel that would be applied upon the compliance with the condition of 3 consecutive satisfactory performance evaluation ratings, payback provision agreements with the Guam Community College, an agreement that all police officer trainees must sign upon initial recruitment, effective, Senators, with this cycle outside. This is the first cycle that has been implemented. And upon signing, GPD will submit to the Guam Community College. This agreement details POT must remain in the Guam Police Department for 3 years. Otherwise, a sliding scale of monetary repayment will be used to determine how much money needs to be reimbursed to GCC for the POT education training received. Further recruitment and retention strategies. Recruitment video. Create recruitment clips to post on social media encouraging men and women to join the Guam Police Department. GPD is currently working with the Department of Administration, Human Resources Division on the known promotion potentials, or KPP, for Police Officer 1, Police Officer 2, and Police Officer 3 positions, respectively, for promotional increments every 4 or 5 years. Next slide, please. As of May 2025, there are currently 273 uniform officers. That includes the 14 POTs, with 128 patrol officers at precinct levels that entertain reports and complaints. Before you is information from calendar year data from 2021 through 2024 of law enforcement services addressed into 3 distinct categories: calls requiring GPD response, call ranging from a downed traffic light to life-threatening incidences, crimes reported or the written reports taken, and arrests made. The average number for the 4-year period divided by the 128 patrol officers at the precinct levels that respond to calls, write reports, and making arrests. From calendar year 2021 through calendar year 2024, a total of 129,738 calls required a GPD response, with an average of 32,434 calls, 435 calls per year. That calculates to 243 calls per officer per year. Crimes reported or the written reports. From calendar year 2021 through calendar year 2024, a total of 34,853 written crime reports were submitted, with an average of 8,713 crimes reported per year. That calculates to 68 written reports per officer per year. Arrests made. From calendar year 2021 through calendar year 2024, a total of 15,128 arrests were made, with an average of 3,782 arrests made per year. That calculates to an average arrest per officer at 30. Next slide. Some of our accomplishments. The department was able to use a variety of funding sources for capacity building, professional development, and leadership training with the following training. The Criminal Justice Pilot Program. Before introducing this pilot program, I would like to provide a brief historical background that led to the development of what we are now calling the Criminal Justice Pilot Program. About 18 months ago, I received a letter from Happy Valley High School in Elizabethtown, Tennessee, requesting for a GPD patch. In this same letter, there was a brief description of the Criminal Justice Program at HVHS, which led to the request for a copy of the curriculum. Upon receipt and review of the HVSS curriculum, I saw that this as a new approach to educating our youth and, if possible, a recruitment tool for future law enforcement officers. As of May 2025, the Guam Department of Education Curriculum Office has reviewed and approved the program for presentation to the Guam Education Board. Should the pilot program be approved by the board, listed below are some basic program information. Currently, the course will be entitled Criminal Justice Pilot Program. Effective this August, school year 2025 to 2026, students will be able to earn credit with this course as either an elective or social studies course. The course will be part of the career path option, like that of electrical, early childhood education, etc. GPD law enforcement officers will teach the criminal justice course that spans over a 3-year period. The sophomore year includes Introduction to Criminal Justice. Your junior year is Introduction to Criminal Investigation and Forensic Science. Your senior year is Advanced Topics that integrate sophomore and junior year knowledge and skills. I hope for the success of this pilot program but more importantly, the building of a stronger relationship with Guam's youth, enhancing collaboration within the educational system, and creates an innovative pathway for recruiting law enforcement officers and civilians into the department. Federal Law Enforcement Training Center Law Enforcement Leadership Training. FLETC, a long-standing history of excellence in law enforcement training, providing top-tier education to agencies across the nation. This training encapsulated globally proven methods of leadership focusing on how to lead through adversity, manage conflict, and drive organizational change. Attendees learn how to identify and mitigate risk factors that are endemic to our profession, enhancing their capacity to serve and lead effectively. Law enforcement agencies locally and from our neighboring islands participated in this training session, the first of its kind on Guam. Drug Abuse Resistance Education, DARE, Keeping It Real curriculum. The DARE curriculum is a 10-week social-emotional learning curriculum that teaches the students to be responsible decision makers. That is facilitated by 2 certified DARE officers. The curriculum focuses on the Guam Department of Education Common Core and GDOE Positive Behavior Intervention Support, or PBIS. The DARE curriculum consists of responsibility, drugs and alcohol-informed decision-making skills, risks and consequences, stress resistance strategy, peer pressure, communications, bullying, and good citizen. In school year 2024 to 2025, and as of May 27, 2025, we have presented to 11 elementary schools with grade-specific curriculum to a total of 1,333 students. They have completed the DARE program. Force Optimization. National Association of Field Training Officers Training, or NAFTO. This course was conducted by Northwestern University Center for Public Safety, funded through the FY2019 Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act program for $22,500 and trained up to 100 police officers. 3 days of the basic field training class is interactive and hands-on as its priority on improving field training officers, interpersonal and instruction skills to increase trainee retention. The class incorporates a variety of learning activities from group work, case law discussions, and video scenarios. The 1 day Beyond the Basics Advanced FTO training for experienced FTOs. Course offers advanced remedial training techniques, insights into human behavior, discussion on leadership versus management, etc., and a one day FTO management workshop, a training program for supervisors and administrators that oversee work with field training officers. Providing training for FTO is crucial in several ways. 1, the FTOs play a key role in shaping police officer trainees, or the POTs, from developing necessary skills, confidence, professionalism required for effective law enforcement. 2, it increases retention of new officers. And 3, investing on the development of FTO skills emphasizes the department's interest in improving on quality of all officers in the department. Crash Investigations Course Level 1. The Crash Investigations Course Level 1 was funded by NHTSA grant for a total of $34,000. The training provided how to properly obtain and document at-scene information and evidence, gather information from drivers, passengers, and witnesses, measure and map crash scene, and create sketches and after-crash diagrams. Data crash investigations were collected and entered into an event data recorder, or EDR, which can be used for crash reconstructions. Upon completion of the training, certificates were issued to 26 students, 16 police officers from the Guam Police Department, 2 officers from the following agencies: the Port Authority of Guam Police, the Guam International Airport Authority Police, Department of Parks and Recs, Park Rangers, United States Air Force 36 Security Forces Squadron, and 1 officer from the following agency: Camp Blas Marine Corps and Naval Station Security. International Homicide Investigations Association, Foundational Homicide Investigations Course, and Advanced Homicide and Violent Crimes Course. This particular training was procured with a combination of local and federal funds totaling $87,000 that trained 150 law enforcement officers and civilians. The Foundational Homicide Investigation course is a 40-hour course that was held from March 10th to the 14th. The course is structured for detectives beginning their careers, covering critical skills like crime scene processing, interview and interrogation, and much more. While the Advanced Homicide and Violent Crimes Investigation course, held from March 17th to the 21st, 2025, is another 40-hour course designed for the veteran detective. Topics for this training included mass killing investigations, personality-based interview, exploitation and digital evidence, victim service, serial sexual-based crime scenes, and more. Basic K-9 Handlers course. Through a memorandum of agreement with the Guam Customs and Quarantine Agencies, GPD secured no-cost training for 3 officers in the 8th CQA Basic K-9 Handlers course from January 25th, 2025 through April 2025. The K-9s were funded by the Attorney General of Guam through the opioid settlement. K-9 Unit Instructor, K-9 Master Trainer course with international certification. GPD, through a combined source of general and grant funding totaling $904,019, allowed the training of 1 law enforcement officer to obtain certification upon completion of 120 hours at the K-9 WDI Training Center in Ashland, Ohio, from May 11th to 2025. And this is a master instructor course, so he's able to teach other K-9 handlers now. FEMA projects. The Guam Police Department received FEMA project grants totaling over $400,000 to support various operational improvements as a result of Typhoon Mawar. The funds will address essential upgrades in multiple areas from communications infrastructure, such as antenna repairs and gate fixes, precinct renovations at Derrido and Central Precinct that involve exterior painting, and I'm sure you're all glad to pass by Sinonia Precinct, right, Senator Barnett? Right? Good job. It's nice. That involves exterior painting, air conditioning, unit repairs, flagpole replacement, and acoustic tower repairs for the Forensic Science Building and vehicle repairs. Body-worn cameras. With grant and local match funding, $141,012, GPD was able to procure body-worn cameras, cloud storage, and training. Motorola Inc. was the selected vendor, and GPD is currently developing groundwork such as basic training and use of the body-worn camera and finalizing the general order. It's actually signed and issued already. The general order, the standard operating procedures, if you will, for the use of a body-worn camera that will ensure a structured transition. Prior to full implementation, a 1-month testing period at Central Precinct will allow the department to identify and resolve any issues before full deployment. Upon completion of the testing period, GPD will distribute body-worn cameras across all precincts. It is our belief that the use of body-worn cameras will strengthen operational efficiency and accountability. The department plans on looking for additional funding for more body-worn cameras for specialized units to ensure comprehensive coverage. Bulletproof vests. In October 2024, 400 bulletproof vests with plate carriers were procured at a total cost of $499,200. ARPA funds, using ARPA funds. Upon receipt, vests were issued to officers across various departments, starting with precincts, Investigations Bureau, and Special Operations. The bulletproof vest procurement ensures that officers are equipped with enhanced gear, reinforces safety and operational readiness. Computers and monitors and UPS or UPS. GPD was able to procure 60 computers with 120 monitors and 60 UPS units valued at over $215,000, $215 and $280 with ARPA funding. The computer procured was used to enhance operational capacity. These computers were distributed by priority to the precincts, ensuring that essential personnel and divisions receive upgraded equipment to support their daily functions. This allocation of the equipment strengthens GPD's technological capabilities and increases efficiency in operations. Jet skis and trailers. In order to enhance the services provided in the Tumon to Muning Beach area, the department was able to use ARP funds, or the ARPA Act funds, to procure 2 jet skis with trailers. The equipment, valued at $51,669, was delivered to GPD in May of 2025 and is registered accordingly. The officers will be able to use the equipment daily while patrolling the waters and trying to prevent any water mishaps. Land Mobile Radio Upgrade Phase 2. Upgrading the land mobile radio system is critical for improved communications, enhancing reliability, and ensuring Guam has advanced features that have improved the LMR systems over the last 2 decades. On December 16, 2024, Motorola Inc. was selected as the vendor to design, build, and implement the updated land mobile radio system for $11,500,000, or $11.5 million. The LMR upgrade is funded by ARPA funds. At this time, we are in the design phase. The design phase is crucial to ensuring all elements of the upgraded LMR system are thoroughly addressed before moving into testing. By August 10, 2025, factory testing will be conducted. The testing will validate performance and reliability before advancing to the full-scale build of the LMR system. GPD anticipates the switch over to the new system in December of 2026. Police patrol vehicles. In an effort to enhance law enforcement capabilities, a total of 42 police patrol vehicles are in order via Cars Plus, with an expected delivery date of July 2025. This procurement is funded through a combination of ARPA funds, totaling $2,931,923, highway grant fundings of $249,897, for a total investment of $3,181,820. This acquisition will strengthen patrol operations and improve response time in the community. I'd like to add there that we've also carved out from the $1.5 million for the SRO program, an additional, we submitted procurement for an additional 5 cars for the SROs for all the schools. So we'd like to get additional 5 cars into all of the high schools as well. Evidence Control Building. GPD secured Department of Interior funding of $4,288,690 to build the Evidence Control Building. Contractor selected was Mega United Corporation. I have already signed off on the plans, returned them to the Department of Public Works for final review, and released the contractor. The build will occur in Jigo and comprise a 10,685 square foot single-story building with an anticipated completion date of September 2026. An update to that, once we get the EPA to sign off on the plans, it is the last clearance that's needed, and they'll be able to start and break ground. So hopefully within the next month or so. Telefofu Substation. GPD applied and was awarded a $6 million+ award from Guåhan for the build of the Telefofu Substation. The selected vendor is Surface Solutions for the design and construction phase. The Telefofu Substation is a 6,552 square foot facility that will essentially cover the eastern villages from Zotnia, Ipan, Inalahan, Telefofu, and Maleso, the eastern side only. The design will be completed by July 2025. Once construction begins, the anticipated completion date is June of 2026. Peace Officers Memorial. The Peace Officers Memorial is a very meaningful project for the Guam Police Department, and with $500,000 allocated from the FY2024 General Fund, Guåhan Architects was selected to design the memorial, with BME & Sons awarded the contract in April 2025. The anticipated finish date of the memorial is December 2025, and an update to that, I have one more meeting with the contractor to approve the final design, and we should be breaking ground this year and finish well before May of next year for the next Police Week Memorial. DNA Lab Status Update and Accreditation. The DNA Lab has shown great progress. From the HVAC installation, nearly complete, and the ongoing validation of the instruments, this will ensure an operational and fully functional lab by the anticipated July 2025 occupancy date. In addition to equipment functioning, GPD continues to work on building capacity to conduct DNA analysis. It is important to note that GPD also plans to obtain DNA accreditation. Although we are still a few years away, the lab has already adapted to the FBI guidelines and International Standard Operating, or ISO 10725. That will set the foundation of keeping rigorous standards that will streamline the accreditation process when the time occurs. Forensic Science Accreditation. Currently, the Guam Police Department Forensic Science Bureau received accreditation for key services: firearms, latent print, and drug chemistry, extending through 2027. The accreditation mandates that GPD's FSB continue compliance and quality assurance for the key services approved. In preparation for continued accreditation beyond 2027, FSB is currently planning for the renewal visit in calendar year 2026. HVAC system. The Forensic Science Division requires $2 million in capital funding to replace the defunct HVAC system and failing exhaust infrastructure at the Forensic Science Division laboratory. Environmental control systems are critical to meeting both forensic accreditation requirements and OSHA safety standards. These systems regulate temperature, humidity, and air quality, factors that directly impact the stability of chemicals, the functionality of equipment, and the integrity of forensic evidence. Currently, the division relies on temporary solutions that are not sustainable and leave the laboratory vulnerable to noncompliance and operational disruption. Replacing the HVAC and exhaust system is essential, not only to maintain current accreditation, but also to ensure readiness for evolving standards and continued safe, high-quality forensic work. School Resource Officers, or SROs. The School Resource Officers Program, implemented through the Guam Police Department effective FY2025, purpose extends beyond traditional law enforcement duties and community policing. The presence of law enforcement officers, from this point on referred to as SROs, in the school promotes an increase in school safety, assists in building trust with students and school employees, and can provide education and guidance and quick response for crisis intervention and preparedness. GPD hopes to build a well-implemented SRO program that will continue to address gaps between law enforcement and education, promote community involvement, and develop a more proactive crime prevention for all involved. In order for the SRO program to continue successfully, GPD requests $1.5 million in funding. The funding will support 7 law enforcement officers, 1 administrative staff, an AA, training, DARE and other educational materials, and equipment needs. The MOLIC Task Force, as established by Public Law 37134, is for an interagency collaboration with Guam law enforcement entities from the supervision level and detection for the disruption of narcotics and illicit drug activities and public awareness. This will be led by GPD Special Investigations Section. The MOLIC initiative is anticipated to, at a minimum, cost $922,028. That will support salaries, contractual services, supplies, equipment, and vice funds. And if I may just add a side note to that, that was our estimate for the cost for the GPD site. It doesn't include the other agencies that we'll be bringing on. So I will, I guess I can provide a more detailed presentation on where we're at with MOLIC after this budget presentation, because we have made some, we have done some work already, and we've laid the groundwork for MOLIC, and it's MOLIC already. Mobile Command Post. During the April 2025 active shooter incident in Talofofo, the Guam Police Department attempted to deploy a command post, but was informed that it is no longer operational. As a result, officers and civilians were forced to use a concrete bus stop and a 2020 canopy as their command post, an open-air setup that left them fully exposed to both the elements and the active threat. After the active shooter incident, GPD conducted a hot wash to go over the event, and the consistent concern was the lack of a centralized decision-making center to analyze real-time information, issue directives, and oversee tactical execution. A mobile command post is critical to the coordinating of operations, managing resources, and ensuring effective communication during emergencies. The active shooter incident in Talafofu in April 2025 underscores the importance of the needed command post. The estimated cost for the command post is somewhere around $500,000. Gas chromatography with flame ionization detection, or GCFID, to meet Public Law 37-113. Guam Public Law 37-113 stiffens penalties for methamphetamine and fentanyl trafficking and manufacture. The law mandates sentencing based on the quantity of the drugs involved and harsher penalties for repeat offenders. In order to provide the required data, a GCFID, I'm not going to try and pronounce it again, machine, calibrated glassware, yearly calibration of equipment, standards to be concurrently processed for each drug process, training of personnel, and yearly calibration to ensure accreditation standards are met. The estimated cost for the GCFID is about $350,000, all inclusive. GPD headquarters and collateral equipment. A GPD headquarters will serve as a central hub that will improve efficiency, ensure officers and the community can access essential services without unnecessary travel between multiple locations, streamlining operations in a centralized area will allow officers to focus on proactive policing rather than logistics. Community engagement is critical to GPD's community-oriented policing strategies. A visible and accessible location for public interactions will foster a stronger connection with the community. GPD has been informed that there have been ongoing conversations with a contractor that is interested in building a modern-day 80 to 90,000 square foot police headquarters. In fact, the offer has been submitted to ADLUP. However, the administration acceptance of this offer is contingent upon the approval of the Guam Legislature, of course. We request your support of this venture. Gigo Substation. The Gigo Substation project has been discussed over the last 3 years, and we are closer to getting this project started. In order to strengthen the application for funding, GPD needs property. I am glad to announce that the property needed for the Gigo Substation is currently being addressed in Bill 51-38. Thank you, through Senator Sean Gumatalto. The solidification of land will increase GPD's chance of receiving grant money. In anticipation of obtaining the property, GPD submitted the GURA CDBG block grant application for an 8,000 square foot building at an estimated cost of $6.2 to $7.2 million. The expected notice of approval or disapproval of this grant is December 2026. Other funding opportunities that we have explored are the Community Project Funding, or CPS, the Defense Community Infrastructure Project, or DCIP, and we had also brought this up during the CDBG DER comment period as well. Logistical needs. Logistical needs for the Evidence Control Building and Talafofu Substation encompass basic supplies and equipment and capital outlay. Supplies, equipment, and capital outlay listed but not limited to computers, UPS or UPS, printers and scanners, desks, chairs, tables, interview tables and chairs, lockers, benches, storage cabinets, washer, dryer, stove, file cabinets, pretty much anything that you need within a police precinct and for the evidence control section. Our estimate for that, for collateral equipment, is $1.3 million. Computers. GPD has been informed that all computers need Windows 11 because effective January 1, 2026, there will no longer be providing updates for systems with aging Windows software. GPD's IT section projects the replacement of 100 computers in the department with an estimated cost of between $150,000 to $200,000 all in. Tow truck. The current tow truck is 20+ years old, with a host of mechanically challenged issues and needs to be replaced as soon as possible. The estimated cost of $300,000 for a brand new tow truck. And so this tow truck is essential. This is what we use for impounding vehicles in ongoing criminal cases. The Public Safety Communications Center, or PSCC, is a crucial investment for enhancing public safety communications. PSCC will serve as a centralized hub for vital emergency response functions that include GPD dispatch, a command post for natural disasters, equipment storage, and GFD's 911 call center. To date, the groundwork for the PSCC are ongoing. Securing property. GPD is currently working with Chamorro Land Trust to explore the feasibility of property near the water tank in Bragada Heights. Funding. An additional letter of interest has been submitted to the Guåhan Community Development Block Program, or CDBP, with 10,000 square foot and an estimated cost of $6 to $8 million. Alternative funding to consider at this time would be the use of Police Services Fund, the 911 flame funds, and any or other funding sources available. It is important to note that currently GPD's Tactical Communications Center and GFD's 911 Center are paying lease or rental of office space, and with the build of the PSCC, lease or rental monies can now address other important infrastructure needs. GPD is requesting for the consideration to be included in the FY2026 budget. In the event, carryover authorization. In the event there are any remaining funds from FY2025, I am requesting for authorization to carry over into FY2026 for GPD use in any classifications, supplies, materials, equipment, capital outlay, or miscellaneous expenses. Peace Officers Memorial Funding. Collateral equipment. At this time, we will not be exhausting the authorized $500,000, therefore requesting the balance be used towards the collateral equipment needs for the Peace Officers Memorial, such as canopies, chairs, tables, etc. Authorization of petty cash. Petty cash is authorized by the government of Guam with limits. However, I am requesting to provide GPD authorization to use petty cash as quote-unquote buy money and for use during emergencies or crisis situations, active shooter, natural disasters, etc. The department needs to provide a means for buy monies during investigations. During the active shooter event in Talofofo, we were fortunate enough to receive donations from the governor, lieutenant governor, and the Inron mayor and the mayor's council, and through some donations from some nonprofit organizations. The donation of food and water was critical in ensuring that the officers were hydrated, because dehydration can impair physical and mental performance, which is essential to survival. Relying on donations in emergency situations is unpredictable, so formalizing a reliable financial protocol through the authorized use of petty cash will ensure sustainability and preparedness. GPD is requesting cash minimum of $5,000 per request. In conclusion, as we move forward into our FY2026 budget submission, the Guam Police Department is requesting a total of $64,923,283 plus $5,272,028 that would support the HVAC system, SRO, MAULIC, mobile command posts, and the GCFID purchase. We are confident that this will sustain and enhance our current efforts to improve police services. This funding request covers the general fund, special fund, and federal fund match, and is critical for meeting personnel costs, including the recruitment of up to 20 police officer trainees. It also supports the ongoing initiatives across all 4 bureaus within the department, provides for CVPR stipends, purchases parts and supplies, and funds other contractual services. Looking ahead, it is my goal to meet the Guam Police Department's goals and objectives by strengthening our workforce with both sworn and non-sworn personnel, and enhancing the Civilian Volunteer Police Reserve Program, as this is a key step in building a safer community. Expanding the current vehicle fleet and improving our fixed assets will support officers in carrying out their duties more effectively. elevating conditions and standards throughout the entire department, while adhering to the set expenditure limits of our budget proposal shows strategic planning and commitment to responsible governance. The Guam Police Department is committed to fulfilling the Governor's Safe Streets initiatives, improving the efficient and prudent management of our funds, and collaborating with our community partners, federal counterparts, and municipal and island leaders. This includes opportunities for project adoption, sponsorship, and additional funding. We are also committed to working with this committee and the entire 38th Guam Legislature to help the Guam Police Department achieve its objectives for a safer community. Sizu'us Masi. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present testimony in our budget proposal. At this time, I am ready to respond to any questions you may have.
Sizu'us Masi, Chief Ignacio, for that very comprehensive report of accomplishments, particularly in areas where things were to be stood up, and it looks like a lot of progress has been made throughout this fiscal year so far. So I want to congratulate you and your team for that very MAULIC report. Before I go to the chairman for his questions, I wanted to give you that opportunity that you requested to give some updates on MAULIC. But before I do that, I want to juxtapose exactly what the public law did and show why I think many of us believe this is continues to be important. When you take page 6 of your presentation, Chief, it is obvious that regardless, and with the wonderful young men and women out there getting ready to become police officers, as well as a couple correction officers, and the anticipated cycle coming up in June, the trend that you have is you continue to lose the equal amount or more, sometimes officers, than what you're gaining. And I think many of the men and women in blue join myself and many other senators and the governor, of course, by being committed to a minimum manpower requirement for the men and women in blue at the level of minimum of 70% as now prescribed by law. I think that's the least our community can expect. But of course, you're doing everything within your power to get there. So right now, as I look at your 2025 situation in terms of your current manpower, you are by law 106 officers short of your 70% by law mandated police force. So clearly, you are going to be in a situation whereby MAULIC has been triggered for some time. And so with your request on funding, and also with your discussion that I had with you a couple of times on the current situation with MAULIC and the work that you've done standing it up, even without a funding source at this point, I'd like you to go ahead and give us a report on that, Chief, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that. So, the MAULIC group, if you will, it's not a task force or a commission or a board, has met a minimum of 3 times already. One was the first initial meeting, which was required by law within the first 30 days upon enactment. So we've had that initial meeting. Then we've had follow-up meetings, and then at that point, I've turned it over to the Investigations Bureau, Criminal Investigation Division, because MAULIC will be folded into the Special Investigation Section, or what's known as the Narcotics Unit. Through those meetings, we've identified, because GPD does not have office space to accommodate the MAULIC group, if you will, with the addition of the 6 outside agencies and the current 6 that we have, we're looking at 12 people. There's no office space that can accommodate MAULIC. So the Park Police's participation through their director, deputy director, and Chief Joey from Park Police, they've identified an office space. We've visited it, and the office space will work to host MAULIC. It's going to be over at the Paseo. There's the DPR offices in Paseo. They have a vacant office space that they've carved out for use for MAULIC. So in those discussions, we've gone through it, and we're looking at what the infrastructure needs are for technology, of course. How we're going to get computer lines in there, We're looking at where we're going to get the computers because we do electronic report writing. And then I already have a draft MOU on my desk that I'll be reviewing. It'll be a single MOU entered by and between the Guam Police Department and the different members of the Maulic task force, if you will. So we're moving along. Next thing, of course, is once I get the names of the officers that are coming in from the other agencies, because they will be sworn in and deputized as a Guam Police Department officer. I have to meet the requirements of a GPD officer. I have to make sure that they have a background check, a polygraph, and a psych eval. If they already have one through their agency, then we can adopt that. But not every agency, to my understanding, follows the same standards as the Guam Police Department. So I need to make sure that they can perform, function, and operate as a Guam Police Department officer. Since they'll be deputized under this law as a GPD officer, I also have to make sure that they receive in-service training, understand and our use of force standards, and how and when it's used and applied. Yeah, so that's where we're confident that we're going to be moving along, and we'll be getting that thing up and running hopefully within the next 3 to 4 months.
Chief, I think that was an excellent decision to put it under CID, and I just wanted to make sure too that we allay any fears as the discussion on this bill before it became public law that this would drain resources. Your initial stand-up at Maulic is designed around getting the different disciplines together, getting them deputized, and then having a cohesive ability to interoperate. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That is absolutely correct.
And the final piece, I'm happy to report that the Oversight Chair, Senator Gumatauto, myself, as well as members of my staff have been meeting with some of the command staff on the discussion of rebooting the application for HIDA. And, you know, Chief, I've asked you if you would please, I know that you have some obligations. I'm going stateside soon for some trainings and some meetings. I've asked you to stop by in Hawaii to restart and reboot those discussions, as we see that there will be a funding source for Maulic, but a lot of your equipment requests, I think, if we're successful in another application process, working maybe with Hawaii initially and then going forward on our own, is to get equipment and supplies to be able to stand that up. And I think that now that Maulic is in place and you're going to be impaneling your different disciplines, I think you may have a strong case now to once again reapply for HIDA. Are you concur with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the question regarding HIDA. So recently, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, I had actually paid for my way to Saipan. We had conducted training, and I took the opportunity to go present their certificates of completion. And I also had an opportunity to do a meet and greet with both the governor of CNMI and the Attorney General of the CNMI, Mr. Edward Manibusan. I think one of the things that had been brought up to my attention in previous applications for HIDA is that there might be a bigger support from Hawaii HIDA if we had come in maybe as a one Marianas approach, incorporating and folding in the CNMI into our application. I had that direct discussion with General Manibusan, and he is absolutely open to this idea of using the Marianas approach to a HIDA application. As a matter of fact, he had shared with my staff already their HIDA application as well. We've also reached out and did some research on what is it that was missing in prior HIDA applications. We've met with prior attorneys general who have submitted previous Guam HIDA applications. We have all those applications with us, with my staff. And so we're trying to fold all of the things that work in those applications and try and find out what are missing that we can fold in and include into our next HIDA application so that we have a higher percentage chance or a better chance of getting approved this time. To your point, I've not left off island yet this year, but I do have an upcoming trip in July. My intention is to do a delay en route in Hawaii and see if I can, I'm sure that I can schedule a meeting with the HIDA organization, specifically the director, so that we can sit down and have a real good, honest conversation on maybe what we're missing, maybe what it takes to get a more successful application into and fall under the umbrella of the Hawaii HIDA organization. So the plans are in place.
Chief, I really appreciate that, and that regional approach seems very wise. As we know, our brothers and sisters within the CNMI have the same difficulty we have with regard to opioids, methamphetamine, and of course, I'm sure they've experienced that fentanyl probably by now. So we're all facing the same battle, and I think that's really sensible. I think it will also bring the extra weight of, a congressman there joining our congressional office, advocating, and so I think that putting those pieces together may bode very well, and thank you for taking that opportunity to explore options too in working with Hawaii, and so I appreciate that, Chief. Final question on this, on your current designation with regard to your officers that are dedicated on the federal side by request or with the interoperational between the Fed on any type of task forces, has there been communications now that, with Maulik, there will be a kind of a seamless opportunity for communications back and forth as GPD dedicates its men and women in blue also to the Fed side whenever activation is required?
Sure. So even currently, our special investigation section actually pretty much helps to supplement federal investigations. So when there's an operation, we use some of our special investigation sections officers to assist with federal investigations, in addition to the task force officers that are already there. So there's a lot of synergistic approaches to drug investigations in Guam. Whether it's a federal or local case, we involve them and they involve us as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of interagency and working across different groups to get drug investigations investigated and done.
One final thing on this, Chief. I had a chance to by request, I had a meeting with a couple folks on the federal side. One thing they mentioned was they're excited about Maulik, and one thing they mentioned, and I wanted to find out internally to you or even with the Fusion Center, one thing they said was that in order to really share critical intelligence, we would need those within the staff that have security clearances. Do you have any in your command staff that have security clearance, or would that be worked through Fusion Center?
Generally, that's through the Fusion Center. I don't currently have an officer at the Fusion Center. I have put out letters of interest. Again, the Fusion Center is one of those places where you just don't pull anybody and put them up there. One of the things that's required is getting a federal security clearance. And so, finding that right candidate can be difficult at times. But so among my staff, though, among the police officers, generally the ones that have clearances are those in the military. Yeah.
Thank you, Chief, for that update. And like I said, of course, we remain critical below the 70% level minimum manpower requirement, but I know you guys are doing everything that you can. See you guys out there every day on the streets, day and night. And once again, our recruits, we need you, so make sure you get through this class. Turn it over to our Oversight Chair, Senator Sean Gumatata. Please proceed with your line of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I begin, Chief, I just wanted to tell those young men and women that are outside, thank you for your service in advance. I think that when you're looking inside this room, and I know that you look up to them, but one day you will be the men and women that will be inside this room to support not only the operations of the Guam Police Department, but quite frankly, your job is to help and support the people of Guam. So again, kudos to you, and keep up the good work on behalf of all the people of Guam. Chief, again, thank you to all of the GPD personnel that are inside here, your command staff. Thank you for all the work in the lead up to this budget hearing, and I appreciate the effort and our engagement since I got sworn in. So I want to just tell you personally, thank you so much. I have a mess of questions, but I'll try to keep it brief today. If I can start with your allotment reserves, What programs, equipment, or supplies and uniform personnel are impacted by BBMR's reservation of $8,371,322 of GPD's FY 2025 appropriations across the General Fund, Police Services Fund, TAF, and Police Patrol Vehicle and Equipment Revolving Fund as of March 31st, 2025?
So, Senator, I believe that we've already made requests and gotten approval from BBMR, and those reserves have been released because our personnel cost with the 25.59% has really increased from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. So our reserves have been released, and we're actually at a minimum, including the initial reserve, maybe just $500,000 is what we're tracking in surplus. Yeah, that's based on my conversation with my administrative services officer.
All right, thank you, Chief. What portion of the GPD FY 2024 general fund appropriations was carried into 2025, and what expenses were covered by this funding source?
Hi, my name is Nelly Asanuma, GPD ASO. So right now, FY24, we're working with BBMR to see what is the actual available because of the transition from the old system to the new system. So there are outstanding obligations that we're still trying to clear. And once that's clear, we will be able to know the lapse for FY24 that will roll over to 25.
All right, thank you so much for being so candid. I think that's one of the issues that I've seen since I've got in. The transition from old to new means old problems that still kind of linger. And when you need resources the most, that delay is really costing all of you. And so thank you for sharing today. In regards to patrol vehicles, Chief, there are 17 marked vehicles assigned to Central Precinct Command, 1 marked vehicle assigned to SWAT, at least 11 vehicles presumed to be marked vehicles assigned to Dededo Precinct, 8 marked vehicles assigned to the Tamuning Police Station, and no vehicles were identified for the Agate Precinct Command. Recognizing that GPD's capital outlay budget request for FY 2026 is 0, what is the average age of the estimated 37 marked vehicles that make up GPD's fleet, and how many marked vehicles have or will be procured in FY 26 using local and or federal funds?
So our average age for our patrol cars is probably about 3 years old, and that's the Dodge Chargers that we procured in 2019, and I believe they were delivered in 2020, the Dodge Chargers? Yes. Yeah, so they were delivered in 2020. So they're about 3 to 5 years old. At the same time that we got, because of the pandemic, we got delivered during the COVID time, we also got an additional 10 Mitsubishi Outlanders. So those 27 cars, 27 Dodge Chargers, and the 10 Mitsubishi Outlanders were part of the fleet that we're using now. So they're about 5 years old, considering they were delivered in 2020. Where we at? As I reported earlier, this is the biggest procurement to date that I know of in my 6.5 years of being chief. We are getting a minimum 42 patrol cars. And I believe an additional 5. Yeah, so about 47 patrol cars are being added to our fleet. You know, when you order 47 patrol cars, it's not going to come in 3 months. And so we've been working and communicating with Cars Plus, the vendor that was awarded. And we're looking at probably about July, August timeframe for some of the shipment to start trickling in. I anticipate maybe by September. Jenny? September? Yeah, we anticipate hopefully by September we will receive the full allotment of the 40 plus cars. Yeah, and so the last 5, we're working again closely with GSA because the last 5, the patrol car is an IDIQ. So whenever we identify funds, we're able to, you know, just tap into the IDIQ, and that's how we're able to add the 5 cars for the SRO. We're also waiting for 4 other cars on 2 other IDIQs. One is for the Dodge Sprinter van or the Dodge van, and 2 other Ford trucks that are on the IDIQ with Triple J. Again, that was through a federal grant. We were approved for a reprogramming request to get 4 cars, and that's strictly for the crime lab. That's for the property control office and the crime scene van. So we're very excited for these cars. Once DOA approves the IDIQs that we submitted, so we're getting more than just patrol cars when we talk about vehicles. Earlier this year, sometimes you just make do with what you have. If you ever drove by GSA, you see all those federal fleet vehicles that have been put out. I procured 10 of those vehicles that were down there. Everything from Chevy trucks, mini trucks or mid-sized trucks. There was 1 van and I think a couple of sedans. So we added 10 used cars to the fleet, but they support the mission either way.
And speaking of IDIQs or the simplified acquisition, it makes a lot of sense that obviously in police vehicles that you're using that contract vehicle, if you will, to make those types of purchases. But don't forget, there's other parts of your operations that could also perhaps be used, like computers, like any other of the equipment that your men and women will be using in the field. So I'm hoping that those are not overlooked in terms of the use of the simplified acquisition process.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Chief. Let me move on now, if I can, Mr. Chair, on office rental. Are there any other offices outside of your headquarters that are covered on that allocation of $1 million for office space rental? And to what extent is GPD and the Office of the Governor consider pursuing a loan to purchase or construct I know you mentioned it in your presentation, but for the Office of the Governor and you to purchase and construct a government-owned headquarters and applying the annual rent towards that type of debt service?
Right. So currently our rentals include, of course, Magaʹhågan, ITC, my current headquarters at Tizon, which is leased from the Guam Airport Authority, and the Evidence Control Section building in Bello, and what we call the barn, or the Special Operations warehouse. But that's because we chose the warehouse because of our assets, specifically the boats. They all fit, inside the barn, so they're protected from the elements, and also came in very handy during Typhoon Mawar. We were able to secure a lot of assets into that 10,000 plus square foot warehouse, and we came out on top.
Right, and I guess for me, when I think about personally as a policymaker, I know there might be people up here that might agree that anytime someone comes to the Office of the Governor and says, I would like to build a building for you, that's great, and thank you very much for that offer. But I think, I personally disagree. I think there's a process that we need to protect, not only the integrity of the Guam Police Department. I think we should take the information, appreciate you, but this really should be competitively bid. I'm just going to say that for the record. I know some of my colleagues, when you said it, I saw their faces kind of change a bit.
Understood. Again, this was unsolicited by the Guam Police Department.
No, I know. I'm not putting it on you.
We don't go ask people out there, hey, can you build me a headquarters?
Oh,
we don't do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I was saying it. It's not you, so I just wanted to say that for the record, Chief. Let me go to your audio-visual recording equipment, your security cameras, and what's the status? The $200,000 that was appropriated at GPD in May of 2022 through Public Law 35-22, which the legislature then in 2024 through Public Law 3765 extended to GPD's audio-visual equipment.
Wow.
Why do you start with wow? I mean, you could have started with any other type of explanation.
The reason why I say wow is this. I've had that $200,000 since 2022. I've had an easier time spending $54 million than trying to spend $200,000. I kid you not. We have put that money out and that account and that thing out for bid at least 2 or 3 times. The first time we put it out, no bidders. And I think even the second time. We've gone everywhere from trying to put up surveillance cameras at intersections to maybe surveillance cameras at public parks and beaches. And now we've kind of shifted to surveillance cameras or monitors, surveillance monitors for the police precinct. Thankfully, I can report that there was, at least to my knowledge, one vendor who actually came out and did site visits so that they can build a quote for that specific project. Because there was some confusion. I actually got some calls from some senators and says, hey, what's this? I heard you're putting in cameras. I was like, wait, hold on. So we did clarify. There was a vendor that is interested in the request for proposals or the quotes or the IFB. And so they went out and did a site visit to kind of build a quote, and they visited all the precincts so that they can, and that's the money that we're trying to eye for that project.
Right, and I going back to my earlier comment about the simplified acquisition, I mean, I know that the GSA is probably a very expensive prospect, but they do have vendors that could perhaps, under the, that they might be able to help. I know we always kind of look at that, but we have other tools. We should try to use them if we could, Chief. That's just my 2 cents on this one, but I asked the question, and thank you for the response.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just have one more or a couple more questions. Prior year obligations, what assistance, if any, has been offered by the Office of the Governor to settle your $989,859.57 in prior year obligations, which includes a principal amount of $329,000 and some change and interest in the amount, and from, this is going back to 2024. Any, can you offer up any insight from our friends at Adelup?
Sure. The prior obligations, if we're talking about the same obligation, probably 100% of that is the military. So I've tried to resolve that issue, but I just can't get it done. And the reason why is this. I don't know who those obligations are for, i.e., is it for Fred Chargalev or Andrew Kitagwa or whoever in the military that was deployed, or we had an obligation to pay the retirement, their contribution to retirement. We've asked and approached retirement fund, can you tell me who we owe so that we can give you the money for that specific officer's account? And we don't know. We just have a ballpark estimate on what the obligations are. But the only time I can pay out those prior obligations is when an officer says, hey, I'm going to retire, and he pays a visit to retirement fund, and that's when retirement fund is triggered to send me pretty much an invoice or a statement saying, hey, you owe Officer Cruz X amount of dollars for his retirement contributions. I can't get a list from them. We've asked. So if I could get a list, I could probably say, hey, I can pay you off at one time. And I like to do that because it's my understanding that we accrue interest daily. Yeah, we accrue interest daily, and that's probably why the interest is higher than the principal amount.
Right, and again, I would encourage you to, I mean, I can't stop guys from going to retirement fund, but we can definitely get the Office of the Governor to intervene.
Yeah, so every once in a while, I'll send a letter to the speaker and say, hey, look, we paid out, I think, what was it, 20-some thousand was the biggest one we paid out this year, because an officer had gone down to retirement, and he couldn't get his retirement calculations set and projected because he had owed retirement. So the officer has to make that first step, go to retirement fund, say, hey, look, you know, I'm planning to retire, or I'd like to know where I stand in terms of my retirement. And so they will tell him, well, I can't calculate what your retirement annuity is going to be or whatever you're going to get because you owe us first. And so we'll clear that account for that officer.
All right, thank you,
and
Chief.
then they get to move on.
Yeah, and I would hope that those discussions would continue. Mr. Chair, just a couple of things if I could. I appreciate your effort, and I support trying to get the Maulig Task Force set up, and I do appreciate the report today. And I'll stand with you, Mr. Chair, and I really do agree that we do need to get funding to that. Also, I'm hoping that we can prioritize, Mr. Chair, in the budget process, the killed in the line of duty benefit contribution from the Guam Police Department, and actually in all public safety agencies. I know we're not looking for all of it, but we need to be able to make sure that if something does happen, God forbid, as you mentioned in this hearing room, we do not want to pay that, but I want to make sure that we can begin the contributions from all of our public safety agencies in that. Also, Mr. Chair, I know that the Chief talked about it and trying to get the authorization for the $2 million in the HVAC for the crime lab. I think that at some point that makes a lot of sense to do it today. I mean, if we're going to try to stand up a task force, we need to be able to make sure that the investigations to support those types of actions are properly supported, and I think it's just as important as the people. And I know that you mentioned, Chief, and I'll end with this, that you mentioned about the federal grants in your presentation, that it may face some financial uncertainty on grant availability. But for the record, and I think as in my call out to all the public safety agencies, that law enforcement, immigration enforcement, and public safety activities across America have been exempt or being basically parsed out from this, which is good news, and we hope that there'll be more of an expansion as opposed to a contraction of support to all of our public safety and law enforcement agencies, to include the Guam Police Department. Chief, thank you and all of the team for being here today, and that's all my questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator.
Chairman Gumatauta, and we certainly will work on the final analysis in the markup, and you'll be welcome to come in and be part of that process as we lead up to the August session to debate the budget. So with that, we'll go to the next senator who arrived in order. First, Senator Tello Taitigui.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to my colleagues, and good morning to the men and women in blue. Thank you so much for your service. Greatly appreciate all that you do, and please extend that to your family too as well, because I know they can be your rock, to hold you through tough times and put you in situations. So I greatly appreciate it. I was looking at FY24 and the combination of what has happened from there to 25, where we are today. And I'm seeing that, a big boost happened in FY24 to 25, or actually in 25, quite a bit of a difference. And you're looking at now an increase of $2.9 million for your budget this year. Of that $2.9 million, how much is expended on salaries?
So a lot of the $2.9 million increase from last year to this year, and even going back to FY24, a lot of it is, of course, attributed to personnel costs because we did, of course, get the 25.59% increase.
Right. That was in FY24 to 25. I'm talking about now the increase into 26 is a $2.9 million. How much of that is salaries? Because we've already made that jump. I'm not comparing 24
yeah, we're
to...
We're going to use that whole $2.9 million increase into our salaries because of the whole total budget. Everything has been already allocated for all the other object areas.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it goes back to that 25.59% increase.
Right.
It costs more to pay the officers.
Right,
Yeah, and then, it's personnel, overtime costs have gone up, not necessarily because we're working more overtime. It costs more to pay the officer overtime. Yeah.
Okay, and then, because I'm showing in, when it goes to Operations Bureau Neighborhood Patrol, that's the majority of bulk of all the salaries for the police officers. So I'm showing from that time it was 16.3 million, and then in FY25 it was 16.9 million. So there really wasn't that much of an increase there, but then we come into this one and now we're showing 23.6 million, which is $6.7 million in additional cost. So usually this increase would have happened in FY25. I'm just wondering, why is it only happening in FY26, or your request in FY26?
Yeah, so I actually brought the FY25 budget. And so what happened is we had gotten the initial budget But then on the very last page for the appropriations for the Guam Police Department, it's showing $8.5 million in addition to what was appropriated in the line item for GPD for the FY25 budget. Yeah. So it wasn't included in our last year's budget in the initial page for the FY25.
So that increase was not included. Well, why not? Because we didn't have the increase?
No, so what happened is we had already had a budget ceiling for FY25, and then after the budget ceiling and after our submission to OFB, and when we came down to the legislature, the increase was implemented. So on page 67 of GPD for FY25, we had gotten $49,583,602, but then if you move over to page 69, it says an additional $8.579 million. So that brought us from 49 up to about 58 million, almost, yeah, I guess $59 million. Yeah.
Okay.
And so with the increase in just paying regular salaries and with overtime, our budget has gone up significantly because it costs more now to pay even a police officer training, as I illustrated in our presentation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought that would be reflecting in FY25
it
because it was already implemented.
It wasn't in the initial page on
So
page
you can have
67.
any back pay that is due
No,
to our
everybody-
officers?
No, everybody's paid.
Okay.
Yeah,
There is no back pay that's due to any officers right now. Everybody's up to date.
yes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I owe all officers is our overtime, but overtime always accrues every pay period.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that is up to date too, the overtime?
We are about only 2 or 3 pay periods behind because there's a lot of administrative work involved in keying in and paying the officers on time. But we pay every week, so this week they would get their overtime payment for a pay period. Yeah,
Okay, wait. You just said that they're behind 3 pay periods?
2 or 3.
Two
yeah.
peri-
2 or
okay.
2 or 3.
2
yeah,
or
so
3
about
pay
a month
periods.
behind.
Do you give them interest for being late?
No, we don't.
No, I don't think so. They should charge interest, you know. It's something that's due to them,
Right.
actually. So I hope, can you correct that, Chief? To make
Yes,
sure that
we
they
are.
get paid
We are
right
working.
away?
Yeah,
And
we
the
are working
overtime.
on paying them overtime.
Okay, and that is being corrected, right?
Yes.
You know, when you told me about the situation on the mobile command post, you know, that, and the importance of it, I totally agree. I mean, that could save lives, you know, especially to be able to have, you know, response times and identification of location of the perpetrator. I mean, it's kind of hard to run something like that under a bus shelter or a tent. I don't know how you did it, but I greatly appreciate you being thinking outside the box and trying to find something to work. But how long ago was this command post out of order?
The command post belongs to Homeland Security, Civil Defense. So I don't know how long it's been down. We just always been, the government of Guam has always relied on that mobile command post. Yeah, I have no administrative control over it.
Ah, I
Yeah.
see. But this is the one that you use all the time, though, right?
Right,
During
right.
situations? So,
Yeah, I will say though, I mean,
So you
I
don't-
don't,
it's-
it is an old command post. It's been around a while.
so who does it belong to? GPD?
Civil Defense,
Or,
no.
Okay, civil
Defense.
Then you're asking for $500,000?
That's our ballpark figure. I anticipate it's
To
going to be
repair it?
less. No, to buy a new one. That'll be owned and operated by the Guam Police Department.
Ah, so there we go.
Yeah, so we're trying to, get one so that we have ownership of it, maintain it, and we're actually probably the agency that uses that command post the most.
Yeah.
We use it anywhere from the Liberation Day Carnival to the Japan Festival,
Right,
any large-scale events, Coco Road Race, United Marathon. We're always needing a command post, and in hostage situations and in
Right.
critical incidents. The command post serves as that nerve center where decision making and tactical response is coordinated from.
So the current one up at Civil Defense, is there any anticipation of them fixing that command post?
I'm not sure what the plans are, yeah.
Maybe you want to talk to him, ask him.
I-
Is
yeah.
it salvageable, you know, to actually buy it from them and bring it over? And
I wouldn't buy it.
yeah, okay, it's that bad. Okay.
It's kind of a little bit too used already.
Well, it's a very important piece of equipment.
I know when I last talked to HSA Agigi, General Agigi, they were, I think that issued a purchase order to get somebody to come in and try and get it up and running. How far along they've come, I'm not sure.
Well, we've seen what Homeland Security and Civil Defense is up against right now, so I don't think we can anticipate any help there. Talked about actually how many police officers in FY20 and FY25 when we started the fiscal year, and then how many do we have as of today? Exactly. I know you're saying that you're short 106 based on the 70%. Is that still?
So in FY25,
First fiscal year, October?
yeah, we're currently at 273, but we've lost 9 through separation and 5 to retirement.
Okay, I have the documents in front of
Yeah,
me here.
it's
So
on
this
page
is
6,
true to
yeah.
form as of today?
Yeah.
What we're looking at? Because I'm only, okay, and as of today, we're looking at a total of 259?
No, 273. That's total.
Yeah, but the
I'm
separation
sorry,
of
yeah,
9.
after, yeah, 259.
259.
Right.
Okay. And then we're looking at, so the numbers of police officers have grown. We've seen an increase, you know, slight increase. And it's anticipated that we will bring more of those, the recruits that are outside, you know, on board. And that's an additional,
There's 15 of them outside and another 16 coming in at the end of the month.
oh,
I
okay.
mean, we're so short that we're really trying to get them back-to-back cycles.
So about 32.
Yeah,
right?
so about 32.
Does this reflect the request for salaries on your budget?
Yes, those salaries include the 25.59% and at their current rate.
And that's located under Operational Budget Neighborhood Patrol?
Yes,
Okay, so these are included in your budget,
yes.
32. Okay. When you talk about separation of these police officers, what are some of the reasons for separation? I mean, we all know what retirement is, but what about separation?
Still losing them to the
Federal side?
federal side, especially Department of Defense. When I talk Department of Defense, Naval Station Security, Camp Bloss Security, and Anderson Security.
So we've increased the salaries for the police officers, which is well-deserved. In fact, I think it should go up a little bit more. But are we in parallel with the federal side as far as why the police officers are leaving us to go to the feds?
Sure. Yes, we are. And I think in some cases, if you're looking at maybe a GS5 or 6, if we're not competitive with and at parity with, then I think at a GS5 we probably exceed, I believe, I've looked at it once or twice. At a GS5 and our POT, we actually either comparable to or exceed the GS5, just the base salary, not including the other incentive pay that the federal government gives.
And that's at a starting rate,
Right.
a starting
Yeah.
rate.
If you look at the base salary,
So the majority of
between
9
yeah.
that are leaving or separating are younger recruits.
Yes, of course, there's still the younger ones because there's a age cutoff to join either federal or Department of Defense law enforcement. You know, the other thing that we consider is, and we've talked to some of our officers, because of the shortage, Senator Taitig, we have been on 12-hour shifts since 2015. 10 years, police officers have had to work 12-hour shifts. Most people, you know, work 8 hours a day. Police officers in the Guam Police Department work 12 hours a day. And that's just minimum 3.5 days. With our shortage, they're coming in 4 days, 5 days. And we've actually had to tell people, hey, you're not going to work 6 or 7 days straight. You're going to go home. We force them to go home, even if we're short, because they need a break.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no other way that we can get enough personnel on the streets to protect our community, except to implement 12-hour shifts. But we need to continue recruitment and get police officers out there. We need to get away from 12-hour shifts. It's just too taxing on the body
Right.
and the mind.
And we're seeing that in other areas like Port Police, Airport Police. We're looking at Parks and Rec. I mean, those individuals, and there's a shortage in those areas too.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
Just had a conversation yesterday with the Port Police
Right.
chief. He lost, I think, 5 guys.
Right. Do you ever lose any of you guys to like Port Police going over to that end?
Oh, yeah.
'Cause-
We still lose to local law enforcement. One of them was, one was Port Police, one was Park Police, and also Superior Court.
Is there a
Marshal.
parity within the
No.
government of Guam?
No, so with our pay increase, the one officer that went to Park Police, my understanding that he took a pretty hefty pay cut. But
Oh, okay.
he was willing to take that pay cut in lieu of a more stable work. And honestly, the workload here at the Guam Police Department, you saw
It's
the
hard,
numbers.
yeah, right.
We work,
Right.
and we do a lot compared, and not to take anything away from the other law enforcement agencies.
Right.
They all have their priorities and their work cut out for them. But when you look across the board, we have our work cut out for us. Yeah.
Chief, last question. I've noticed on the printout that you gave us, well, actually, there's the one that the binder that you gave us, but also the one that we followed along as you were speaking. I noticed that some of the numbers that you had, there's a plus sign right next to it. For instance, you have a plus sign with one of them. Let's see. I think it was for the, actually for the mobile command post. There was a plus sign next to it.
Oh, yeah, because
Okay.
it was just an estimate, 500,000 plus. But
page, yeah.
based on some initial market research, I don't think we're going to exceed $500,000 for a command post.
Okay.
We're probably within
So-
the 350 to 450 range.
So I'm looking through all, I just wanted to verify because you've got some other numbers here on page 10 as well that doesn't have a plus sign, but yet on your last page, you indicate on top of your budget of $64.9 million plus that you're requesting for 5.2. And so I can assume that everything from the HAVOC systems, the SRO, the MALIC program, the
Right.
mobile, and all those would be an additional 5.2. I just wanted to verify that.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay, so what is truly pending that's not in this budget that you truly need?
HVAC.
Got it.
HVAC,
Okay.
HVAC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all the
Because
questions.
if not,
Yeah.
we're going to go back to the years of 2015, 2017,
Yeah.
where we're all going to be in the front of the news with mold and in operational crime lab and having to do analysis at UOG or public health.
Okay.
HVAC.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, and in, if you look at the FY25 transmittal letter from the governor, she pointed that out, and that's why I wanted to reiterate that point. It was not funded last year, and we truly need the help of the 38th Guam Legislature to please fund the HVAC system.
Okay.
Whether it's FY26 or, I've been watching the news about some of the supplemental or the surplus in this year's appropriations or the collections. So if there's an opportunity there, I'll leave it to you guys. You're the lawmakers. You control the purse strings, and we just ask for, really HVAC.
Okay.
Command post.
Yes, I think it should be HVAC first, then command post. I mean, even side by side, because that's really needed. It truly is.
Yeah.
It saves on manpower. Having some type of command post does save on manpower because you have all the, data equipment that are needed, technology in that command post that can alleviate some of the manpower that's needed. So that command post it's going to, multiply in need, so resources.
Yeah, Senator, I've been watching the news headline, the national news of all these riots that are occurring across the United States.
Yeah.
And every time I see a command post or an armored vehicle, I said, I wish I had one of those.
So do I.
And an HVAC system.
I'm just grateful that it's not happening here, what's happening in LA. But I greatly appreciate it, and thank you, everyone, and all those hardworking individuals, and even the unclassified that's there. Ladies, thank you for your help and your work and assistance. Okay, and Ali. Okay, bye-bye.
Susan Masi. And Chief, one of the things certainly we'll be approaching as we go into the budget season, and the governor identified the increase in her requests, particularly for public safety, the hospital, and some other areas. One thing I wanted to mention was when we had fire here the other day, when they had their E911 shortage, you are a line agency of the government directly under the governor's control for public safety. The truth is that you can receive also transfer authority. And so we're going to be a little creative this year to ensure that we know already what's tracking. We'll be reporting that during the budget session. And that, what we're up against is the continuation of the appropriation authority going upwards, but yet the funding is available in terms of when you take the percentage that is allocated for the governor's ability to transfer. And I'm glad your allotments are released, but that's not the same for everyone, right? So a lot of times there is funding that's embedded. So I just want to ensure that we work together with your oversight chair and others, that we make sure that we have these conversations, that of these critical areas, we can identify that transfer authority without raising the budget ceiling, because that's traditionally, that's what's happening most of the time. And that's what creates eventually when we end up with a deficit, although when we have cash available, particularly for capital outlay, we should be on top of that. So Chief, I'm going to continue to work with you and the oversight chair. And like I said, we're going to have some language in this year's budget that's going to give a lot more flexibility. So
Thank
with
you
that,
very much. Thank you.
Sure. Senator Barnett, you recognize.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Chair, Manana Sidus, and Biba Betnes to the panel, and Chief, of course, to your command staff, and also to the police officer and corrections trainees out in the lobby. I hope you guys are in this for the long haul. And thank you for your very thorough, well, I felt like I was listening to the State of Public Safety address there, Chief. It was very, very thorough. I kind of wanted to start by just following up on a couple of laws that we were able to pass with the retention bonus, 10,000. This is the triennial retention bonus. I know I'd met with Defunto Lieutenant Ron Taitano about the implementation of this policy, and unfortunately we weren't able to complete the discussion, but it was our intent to allow officers who were going to retire before the 3 years to avail of the $10,000 bonus. So have any officers, no?
I'm not tracking that, but
Okay.
I'd have to look at the law if it allows that to pay somebody who retires before the 3 years.
So you're
It's $10,000. I was always understood the law to be, if you work 3 years from the date of the passage of the law, you're entitled to a $10,000 bonus if you meet, of course, the lawful requirements.
Right.
And some of
Gotta have
them, of
your
course,
satisfactory review. Yeah.
performance, no disciplinary action.
Correct,
And I
yeah.
think there's a couple other
And that's
things.
kind of what Defunto Lieutenant Titan and I were kind of meeting about. He was bringing that concern about, hey, if we have people who are retired before the 3 years, are they going to be able to avail of it? So that's your read on it. And so you're not,
That's my understanding of
Okay.
it. Yeah, if there's a different interpretation, of course, we would always seek legal guidance.
Sure.
I do have the final draft because I did have another person take over his job.
Thank you.
And so I have the final draft for the internal rules that apply to that.
Thank you.
Of course, not exceeding the authority of the law.
Okay, and so, what was kind of concerning was in meeting with Lieutenant Taitano was that he had shared with me, and I think this is still the case, that the Guam Police Department is without legal counsel?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Okay, so is there anything in the budget that allows you guys to hire or retain an attorney?
No, because the law was repealed, I actually sent a letter to my oversight chair, and hopefully that's something that will be considered in the FY26 budget discussions. One, the authority to hire, and two, maybe even funding for it. But if not, we'll be able to maybe look at carving out money within this big budget to pay for internal legal counsel. Yeah, we do need, we would like to see internal legal counsel. So I did pen a letter to Senator Gumatauto as recent as this week, and he's in receipt of it, so that can be considered. And it's a conversation I've had with my oversight chair.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause,
You're welcome,
we
sir.
don't want you guys to, be in a position of liability or without having the legal advice from an
like
attorney.
in 2019 when I got in trouble.
Chief, what about the body cams? So I saw the media reports, and then we had had a couple meetings, and so I just wasn't clear in your testimony. You said that there will be a trial period, and then you're going to look at some of the data. I know that you said the general orders are completed, but
So, yeah. So, we're ready to go. However, our system, internal computer system, our IT side, we are going through a major upgrade because, as you know, that system that we have now was last upgraded in 2017. So, of course, the operating system and the software and everything else associated with our storage systems are already going on 7 years old. In order to avoid making sure that we don't fall back into a place, again, where we were faced back in 2015, 2017, where we had this really outdated software and computer equipment, we're going through a major upgrade. We're paying over 700, right? Or close to $700,000 in a major upgrade of servers and computer software. So once that upgrade is done, and we've been working closely with OTEC to make sure it's done as quickly as it can be done, and properly, of course, then we'll be able to start issuing the body-worn cameras. But everything's done. All the work has been done. Training has been done. The standard operating procedures or the general order is completed. I signed it. And so we're ready to go. The officers have been identified already that will be wearing the body-worn cameras. And so what we talked about when we said we're going to do a pilot program with Central Precinct is just to make sure that, the officers that are going to be using it, the supervisors and the managers at the precinct understand the beginning to end process. How to wear it, how to record, making sure that it's recording properly. Then how do you dock it? How do you download? And then how do we, send any evidence that's recorded to an attorney, to the evidence storage section and all that. Yeah, so there's a whole process involved, and we want to make sure that we work out all the kinks before we do a department-wide. Instead of dealing with 50 officers and 50 problems, we'll deal with 5 officers and 5 problems and make sure that we iron them out so that the other 45 don't have 45 other problems.
so you're basically saying that we have an Antigo computer data system, and you don't want
It's
to
a
plug in
7-year-old
these-
system
right,
that.
So you're going to upgrade, so you're going to accommodate
Yeah, we need
for
to
the
upgrade it, almost like your iPhone.
What about the
it
cloud
upgrades every time.
storage. Is that also going to be upgraded?
Storage is already taken into account.
So in your testimony, Chief, you say upon completion of the testing period, GPD will distribute the body-worn cameras across all precincts. And the department plans on looking for additional funding for more body-worn cameras for specialized units to ensure comprehensive coverage. Do you yet have a dollar figure? Would it be similar to the about $200,000 that was spent initially?
Yeah, so we already have more cameras. We have 59. We have 59 cameras. So there's more than enough to cover the precinct. So we actually have extra cameras that'll be into the specialized units. What we're trying to do is, of course, making sure that most of the officers that need to wear a body-worn camera will be wearing one. Of course, there are going to be sections that are not going to be needing or having to wear body-worn cameras. Narcotics guys, right? Detectives, right? So they're probably not going to have a full-time need to wear a body-worn camera as opposed to maybe, of course, the patrol officer.
Chief, I know I want to thank you for the upgrades at the Central Precinct. I do drive by there. It looks so sharp, right? But I wanted to ask about another precinct, the Southern Precinct, as we had passed a law that would rename the Southern Precinct after the late police officer and former Senator Pito Terlahi. Does that require any additional funds? Because I haven't heard about any forward movement on that.
No, we're moving forward. We're buying roadside signs and plaques for the precinct, actually for that one, and the Connie Dueñas precinct.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, thank you for asking about Central, because what I've done is working with my procurement folks and the precinct commanders. We've actually liked the color and design, and so we're going to actually implement that color and design across all the precincts so that it's uniform.
Nice.
And so we're already working with DPW. We've received quotes from vendors, and so we're working closely with DPW to get all the precincts painted.
I asked you in a previous hearing about the standing up of the Tumon Koban, especially in light of the tourist murder that occurred down in Tumon. And it was my understanding there were some funds provided from the governor's office. And then I see in your budget request jet skis and trailers. Is this part of leveling up the Tumon Koban, or do you have a status of that?
The Tumon, thank you for asking, Senator. So the Tumon Koban, we're having a reopening ceremony on June 27th. Yeah.
Make sure you get the right email so I can come and attend that.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We all switched to .gov in case.
Okay. So yeah, so we actually have an event on June 27th. We have the brand new jet skis. Tumon Koban has been spruced up with a combination of the work of the officers and some donations from the community. And so we're ready to go. We were able to use ARP money. We highlighted that as an accomplishment. So we're not asking for any money. Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned that you wanted the ability to hold on to your lapses. What are you tracking with the lapses?
Not much. Because of overtime costs, we're probably looking at around $500,000.
That's kind of been a standard amendment that we've thrown into
Right.
the budget the last
Yeah,
couple.
we just want to make sure that we put it in record
Okay.
as well. Yeah, but thank you very much for that.
Right on. I'm just a little concerned because there's a lot of rhetoric coming out of some of the members of the majority about cut the budget, and I'm just hoping that the Guam Police Department is not going to be receiving any cuts. I mean, when you guys come before us and tell us this is what you need to do what you got to do to keep the people of Guam safe, I don't think we should be getting creative. We should keep it simple and give you the tools that you need. But that being said, you're right, the $2 million HVAC wasn't addressed in the budget, and then as you may recall, there was kind of, we did it differently last year, and we weren't able to get that into the supplemental budget bill. One thing we were able to get in, though, was the $1.5 million for the school resource officers. And so I see that you're requesting another $1.5 million, but it's not actually in your budget?
Yeah, it's not, but again, in terms of, the funding, the $1.5 million is so that we can pay those officers and grow it a little. We wanted to add a couple more officers because we're still one officer short to cover all the 6 schools. And all the personnel costs and some more equipment. But, it's one of those areas that, do you need it? Well, they're already incorporated into our overall budget proposal, right? So if we can carve out that money, put it over here and the SRO funding, that'd be great. If not, again, but there is still some need for equipment. We're trying to make sure, because it's a new program and we're still trying to build capacity. One of the things that we had to do was we had to ask, because we didn't have internally the equipment, the computers, thankfully, GDOE was able to transfer some computers over to us and get them the computers they need, because they do still do police work at the schools. Yeah, it's a good program. Senator, thank you very much for that. Last year, there's not one school principal that doesn't support it, and they're very thankful. Matter of fact, getting a lot of, hey, when are you going to do middle schools?
Right,
like,
yeah. That's funny, because I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, hold on.
Online with a middle school teacher. So, yeah, I got to commend the Department, Sergeant Tapao, and that division that does the outreach with the schools, because they've successfully reinstated the drug awareness resistance education, and that's in the elementary schools. That's absolutely great. I know they graduated some kids at Talafofo Elementary. UPI Elementary has also been involved, and then you have the criminal justice program, and that's for the high schools, right? But the middle school kids, man, these kids are at a crossroads, and often it's in middle school where you take that, left turn, Chalo, that maybe you shouldn't have taken. And so I don't know if Sergeant DePower, you guys are trying to stand up any programs in the middle schools, but I did get a message from a teacher.
So one of the
about
programs that we implement at the middle schools is not as robust as the DARE program, or probably not going to mirror what's going on with Tizen High. And man, I got to just say, thank you very much to the principal, Sophie, up at Tizen High, because she has been a great partner and collaborator for this pilot project. And we're really excited. We're ready to go. Hopefully, it gets adopted by the board, but we're ready to kick it off and go starting August. But yeah, for the middle school, because we have the DARE for the elementary, the 5th graders, as they transition into that middle school year. For the middle school, we have the Catch Your Breath or Catch My Breath program.
That's vaping, right?
And it's a program, I think it's in collaboration with, where's Paul? Might be in collaboration with WestCare. And it's really geared towards the vaping and smoking anti-cessation programs.
Nice.
So that's our program geared towards the middle school.
And then how do you determine which middle schools you go out to? Or do you go out to all of them?
No, I don't think we have capacity to go to all the middle schools. Yeah, but generally we usually get a request from the schools, for some presentations.
Okay.
Yeah, but the established programs are with 5th graders, and now with hopefully with Tizen High.
And that program at Tizen High, which is a pilot program, this is I think it's a great program. This is like JROTC, but for police officers.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
So I pray for the success of that and maybe get it into some of the other schools. And I know we've talked about this before, creating that pipeline where you have students who attend this police ROTC, for lack of a better term, and then they graduate and then hopefully are able to pass all the tests and become the POTs that we see out in the lobby. Nice. Yeah, so I feel like we're in a little bit of a tough spot because you're supporting your request, and then you've got the $5 million, which is I'm calling it the plus, right? And this includes the HVAC system replacement, which you said is the priority, the $1 million for the MAULIC program, and then you've got the mobile command post purchase, and what is this, gas chromatography? How did you say that?
I cannot.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know in terms of priority, because I'm not sure. I feel like the most immediate benefit if we have to choose between any of these things, I want to support the school resource officers.
Yeah, so the GCFID, the gas chromatography instrument, so that was necessitated out of a law that was passed for enhanced penalties for the testing of purity of meth. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why I missed that hearing and that bill, but I don't remember providing testimony. But we were approached recently by the Attorney General of Guam, and he wanted us to look at, he asked us how we could start testing for purity in line with that public law. And through conversations and research with my forensic science staff, our criminalists, we don't have the capacity. That capacity is incumbent upon getting the right instruments in place with the right training so that we can start doing those quantitative tests. And that quantitative test is how pure is this methamphetamine. And we kind of see that in some of the reports or news articles, right?
Right.
The meth was 99% pure, it was 90% pure. Well, we can do that. We have if we have the right instruments and the right training. So we can build capacity, but it's gonna cost at a minimum that $350,000.
Chief, there was a pullover that was conducted, and there was a seizure, I believe, of cocaine. So I just kind of wanted to ask: are your officers out on patrol? Are they seeing kind of a resurgence of this drug?
I can't really say that there's a resurgence of the drugs, but we do know that we still encounter cocaine in our drug investigation cases. To the drug fighting effort, we actually trained 2 patrol officers. They went through the full customs and quarantine training cycle. So those officers now, with their dogs, are actually out on patrol. Yeah, so they're more embedded in the day-to-day operations of the patrol officers, of the patrol operations.
You know, the name of the drug escapes me, but with the recent events at DOC, there was some importation of the...
I'm thinking it was I've never heard that drug before. I'm thinking it might be somewhere along the lines of fentanyl.
Something like that.
Or something along those lines.
But it's not prescribed?
Right.
Are you encountering that out there?
No, this is the first time I heard of that seizure, and that kind of drug on our streets. Yeah.
Okay. Chief, thank you. Mr. Chair, Cedros Masi for the opportunity.
Cedros Masi, Senator. And yeah, once again, talk about your update as I was going through. Many of these programs have passed into law, and, the realization of them is coming online now. So when I just appreciate the movement on all of those things, I'll note that, even if we looked at our minimum manpower requirement right now that is codified in law, you'd be looking at $5 to $6 million additional on top of this budget request right now when you're talking about your 101 shortage. So, we're trying to do what we can right at the interim to fill that gap. So I appreciate everything that you're doing here for prevention and the like, because that's the reality of where we're at in terms of if it were a perfect world and we had 10 more classes like those guys outside and the one coming online end of the month, done deal, right? We can move over to other priorities, but that's not the reality of today. So appreciate that, Chief. Senator Talahi.
Cedros Masi, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chief. Good presentation. I appreciate the thoroughness, and you got all your accomplishments plus your wish list in here. And maybe I'll just start with that. And thank you to all of you who are here, I know, who helped work on this budget request. So the budget overall is the same as what the governor had requested in January, a 2.9 million increase from FY25. But your testimony is that that's pretty much just to cover salaries based on the pay increases, right? That increase.
It covers the entire operation of the Guam Police Department for the entire FY2026.
But the increase of 2.9 you're saying is really going to cover salary.
Yeah,
the salary
it's because
increases.
of that 25.59%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then as my colleague pointed out, there's a whole set of things that you talked about that are actually not covered, totaling 5.27 million. And
Right.
Those are really significant programs, and so I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. But back to the 2.9 and the personnel that it's going to cover, 259 personnel plus the trainees, right? You're still going to be working 12-hour shifts.
Yes.
And when I'm looking at the statistics you gave us over the years of the personnel, it's like we haven't recovered since 2020. That was 290. That's the highest on this list that you've given us. And otherwise, we've remained, almost the same, right? I mean, 260, 290, 240, 248, 239, 247, 259. It's almost like we're just inching along on these increases, and we can't make a significant...
It's a slow crawl. Yeah.
Yeah, that's concerning. I think we really need to see something more drastic. And I know that you're trying with these recruits, and it's just a matter of cycles and continuous cycles and keeping the ones that you have longer. But I'm very concerned about that 12-hour shifts. I think that's not what anyone here wants or envisions, and I don't think it's good for your officers. I mean, we want to pay them well, but maybe, not without 12-hour shifts. I'd like to, their
Yeah,
safety and health, we're trying to
So the
accommodate
12-hour,
with
yeah,
other-
so we use the 12-hour shift because the 12-hour shift requires the least amount of manpower. Yeah, if we go into a 4-10, which is 4 days on, 10 hours a day, and that requires a little bit more. And if we go to full-on 8-hour shifts, that's even more manpower.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean. That's my
Yeah.
concern, because it's
Right.
manpower-based, right? And so we're
Yeah, it's
pushing these
the shifts are
individuals
manpower-driven, right?
because of a shortage of manpower.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm just going to go through in the order of your presentation in your letter. The canines that were given by the Opioid Advisory Council, you said you trained 3 plus training 1 master trainer, and but did you get 3 canines, actual dogs? Two
We got 2 dogs.
2 assigned to you, right? Because
Yes.
I remember talking about that. And do you expect any more?
I'm not tracking additional dogs.
All right. And so how do you use these 2?
Those are the 2 that are going to be assigned to patrol. So the handlers came from patrol. They were trained with the dogs. They're going to go back to patrol with the dogs. So that's why we're bringing, as I was talking about just a couple minutes ago, we're now bringing the interdiction directly to the patrol level. And that's the capacity that we're trying to increase as well. I've actually had a conversation a couple of days ago with Senator Gumatauta about how we can increase the number of dogs on patrol for drug interdiction.
All right. So the advisory council hasn't set up a meeting as far as I know, but they should be
I don't think they've had a meeting in
since the last
a
one.
while.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. But that was the biggest source of revenue to bring in these dogs, right? They're the ones who brought in the 2, assigned it to GPD.
Yeah, 2 out of others.
Yes, I know.
Because we got 2 out of, I think,
Yeah.
6 or 8.
So I just want to, I just wanted to know exactly where you were going to be using those so we can advocate for more.
Yeah, they're going to be used on
necessary-
patrol.
All right.
Yeah.
And then so Senator Barnett talked about the Tumon precinct. That's good news. This jet skis that you received, those are going to be managed out of the Tumon precinct?
Yes, so we're putting back in play the beach patrol unit. So we're going to have jet skis, we're going to have patrols along the beach. We have some existing motorcycles, scooters, and motorbikes that we're going to be using for beach patrol. And it just increased our presence along the Tumon area.
So how many officers do you have at one time in Tumon on a shift? Some are patrolling, you're saying, and some are...
So we have 2 assigned strictly for beach patrol, but they're also, of course, supplemented, or they supplement the regular patrol officers in Tumon, which is 5.
5.
Yeah, 4 to 5
plus 2
daily.
beach patrol. And
Right.
do you coordinate with the SROs that GVB assigns? I mean, do you guys have an agreement that they'll take care of EPAL so you don't have to always go there and you're going to go to other places, something like that? Or not
Yeah,
really?
so the VSOs are a program of the GVB, but we
Yes.
do, of course, work closely with them, with Paul Suba, former Chief Paul Suba, who oversees that program. And we do regularly meet with them with the Safety and Security Committee under the Guam Visitors Bureau.
Because we were told that they no longer assign visitor safety officers to like Matapang Beach, which they used to. And so I don't know what's going on that side, but I'm asking, I guess, on your side, are you seeing an increased need down in Tumon? I'm glad you're going to have the 2 beach patrol. I think there was only 1 that I've been seeing. Have there always been 2?
Yeah, there's a supervisor and an officer, and we did cross-train patrol officers to also, work with the beach patrol unit. Yeah.
All right. And so then the jet skis just go out when needed, when somebody's
No,
called?
we're going to be deploying them on a regular basis. Maybe not every day, but at certain times of the day, and during probably peak times when they're needed, we'll be deploying the jet skis in the Tumon beach area.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask one more time. Maybe did you say there's 7 officers in Tumon at all times?
If we have a full complement of the 5 patrol officers,
Yeah.
plus the 2 beach patrol, yes, there'll be 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the DNA lab, you said it's anticipated July 2025 occupancy. Didn't we go there for a grand opening and walk through it and everything?
That
So
was
it's never
the-
been
That was
used?
the soft opening, but we're going to be getting our full occupancy permit. It's my understanding by July of 2025. Yeah, so there were some delays because of the DNA side. Just the equipment, there was a lot of misordered parts, is my understanding. So we've had to go back a couple of times and work with the contractor. Yeah.
All right. So some of your personnel will be assigned there? Or is
Yes.
that going to be manned by?
We actually have a criminalist who's being trained in DNA analysis.
Is that in addition to the ones at the forensic science lab?
They're all coming from the forensic science division.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of the criminalists we had actually sent off island for DNA training.
I'm just wondering if you have to move people off of patrol or anywhere else to...
No,
to-
criminalists are
Okay.
civilian employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then the HVAC, I know this came up last year when you were requesting for this money, and the statute says, 7 GCA 9511, that any remaining sums from the Judicial Building Fund shall needed for maintaining the forensic science building shall be expended from the funds in the Judicial Building Fund. But we couldn't get an answer back then as to why that's not being made available to GPD. Do you know?
They do give me an annual fund, maintenance fund. I think if I get this correct, they had recently refinanced the JBF fund, and so we were given a lump sum of, or not a lump sum, but we had gotten up to about $300,000. And in conversation with the Chief Justice and the AOC, Ms. Rossetti, our allotment or our annual maintenance fund is going to go up, I think up to about close to 100,000, if not 100,000. So we'll be getting more funds, but of course, understanding that we need a whole brand new HVAC system. That 100,000 is not going to get us that HVAC system.
Are they aware that you need that?
I'm not sure, but I believe so.
Yeah, can I just ask you to please discuss that with them?
Okay.
Because, yeah, I think this is maintenance of this building cannot operate without that, and that if they can accommodate that, I think that's appropriate. Because, again, the Judicial Building Fund is funded by the work of GPD pretty much.
Yes, ma'am.
So the SROs are, in addition to the budget, not included in the budget. Can I just ask why that these two $5.27 million worth of projects or personnel were not included in the original request? They weren't included in the governor's request either.
So when we were given our budget ceiling, based on what was needed to be funded across the board, from personnel to contractual to operations, we were able to meet the requirements of the funding for the personnel for the SRO is already realized in that $64 million. So as I said, if we look at what are the priorities, if I can fund them out of an SRO fund, that'll relieve some funds for us because, there's always unexpected costs throughout the year. Really, our unexpected cost is we can't predict overtime. And overtime, of course, is an expensive undertaking across the board for the Guam Police Department. So we're able to manage, our funds But if we can have a funding specific to the SROs, that'll help. But again, if you ask me what's the priority, HVAC, command post, SRO, GS, GCFID, whatever. Can we run the SRO program if we don't give us the money? We'll make it happen. I think there's a lot of benefit to continuing the SRO program, and I think that initial funding from last year kick-started it, and so we can continue to maintain it.
Okay, yeah, so that's the same question I have for the MALIC program. So the 6 officers that you're assigning there are actually already covered in your number of personnel, correct?
Yes, they are. Some of the things that have, come up, in our discussion with the other agencies, is the disparity, right? So I have a park police officer who's going to be coming over, and he's going to be paired up with maybe let's say I have a park police officer 1 and a police officer 1 from the Guam Police Department. The pay disparity is going to be very evident, right? And we're not talking about a couple cents here and there. We're talking about dollars. And so he's going to be doing the same work as the PO1. So one of the things that these other agencies have asked me is, would you ask if we can pay them the same rate as the police officer, because he's going to be doing police work with the Guam Police Department under MALIC. So that's one of the disparities I'm trying to address. Yeah, so same thing, same customs asked the same question. Because of our 25.59% increase, we get paid above what the other law enforcement agencies are making. And so they're asking, hey, if I put them at MALIC, are you going to pay them the MALIC wage? Right? The hourly rate is comparable to your officers.
So
I told them I don't have that authority. So
okay, is that included in the 922 or 1,000? No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
okay.
We're still building the budget for MALIC. Yeah.
Okay, so the officers that your GPD is assigning to MALIC are already covered in your personnel in the overall budget.
Yeah.
But
So,
I'm
so
looking
that that 900-some thousand was a little bit of their salaries, but also we would like to get some equipment, computers, cars. Right now we're struggling for space. Thankfully DPR has offered us space, but eventually if we want a real good operational functioning MALIC, I would prefer maybe to lease some office space. Because some of the work that they're going to do, we don't want to expose them to other areas and other places. So if we can get a lease going in some, office space that they can work out of and do real good undercover work, that'd be even better.
All right, I'm kind of surprised because when I read the MALIC law, I was there when it was passed, and that's not at all what I had envisioned. Because the MALIC law talks about the number of police officers the GPD needs to have active, right? And it was like 364. And it says if GPD falls below 364, then MALIC is going to kick in and bring officers over from these other agencies. And you're right now at 259, not including the trainees for FY26, or no, sorry, that's FY25. That's way below 364. But 6 employees from other agencies, it's not, I don't know, for me, that doesn't seem to meet the objective of the MALIC. That's supposed to be to reinforce GPD officers that where you need them, and that sounds like a lot of them. And they're supposed to be, it says peace officers, so I think maybe they thought they were going to be equally trained, but you're saying that they're not at all equally trained, or I don't know, but my issue is, are you going to enforce this provision where when you're below 364, you're going to bring in other officers from the other agencies or not?
Yes, we've had that conversation. They understand that the law requires that they provide support to the MALIC led by the Guam Police Department. Yeah. So they're already identifying the people that are going to come over and work at a minimum one officer from the other agencies.
Yeah, so there's 7 agencies, there's 6 people coming over,
Right.
And
Plus the
that's
6 that we have, that'll be 12.
But-
That'll be a really good working in narcotics investigation group. There was a time, of course, when we were at the Pedros Plaza, the narcotics section, the SIS, had upwards of 20 plus people. Yeah, and you know, we can get more, again, you can get more done with more people.
Yeah, and just to add, Maulik has multiple components to it. So let's be clear here. You know, we're not here to debate Maulik. We're talking about your budget. But I want to be clear, Chief, that the objective of Maulik is in the absence of optimum manpower. You have the multi-agency group to do other work that will help you with interdiction and also other issues associated with the issues we have
Right.
on the street and opioid abuse and meth. It is, the task force is not just about manpower, it's about operational and tactical capabilities. That's why I'm glad that you put it under CID. Correct?
Right, that is correct. And again, if we meet that minimum requirement of the 70%, they go back to where they came from.
That's why I said if we
Yeah,
can wave
yeah.
a wand and have
Yeah, we can move on.
6 more million in this budget for 101 personnel, we're good. Maulik is frozen.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding, Chief. Your minimum 70% is 364. That's the number I'm using.
Right.
So if you're below 364, you're
Maulik-
supposed to use
Maulik
Maulik
kicks
to
in.
bring over officers to
Right.
supplement GPD's work. Not
And to have tactical capabilities, to have other provisions for drug interdiction and other operational requirements. Correct, Chief?
This is strictly a drug investigation and interdiction working group. Yeah, nothing else. They're not going to be, unless, of course, there's a nexus between, while investigating drugs, the guy confesses to a homicide or a robbery. You know, of course, they're going to continue on. But their primary day in, day out job is going to be drug interdiction, investigation, and, you know, removing drugs off the street. That's my full and complete understanding of Maulik. It's a you know, it's a group approach to investigating drug problems in Guam, which I support because now we're going to be bringing in capacity from customs and quarantine, and they have an intelligence unit that, you know, knows about, you know, who may be targets that we can work on the street level, right? So I think there's benefit to Maulik, and I
Nobody's
support it.
saying there's no benefit. I'm
Right.
asking, so you can set up a task force and use them for investigations if you want to use those other agencies for that, that's fine. But you're also supposed to meet your manpower needs of 364.
Right.
That's the way this law seems like it's supposed to
And
work.
that's why we continue to recruit. Yeah. So the 364 is across. That's what I need.
Yes.
So if I get, so that means if I hire up to 364, that allows me to move more people into drug investigations or criminal investigation. And that's what happens when I graduate a recruit cycle. You know, if I graduate 10, I don't take 10 and move them into specialized units. We want to make sure, of course, that the priority is patrol. And if we meet a minimum manpower staffing for patrol, and I have 2 extra, then I work with Colonel and the staff and says, hey, we can now move 2 more people because I'm short everywhere. Highway patrol. We all know the old highway patrol law. Gosh, has been introduced, I think, by Senator Barrett Anderson. 30 is the minimum for highway patrol. I worked there for 14 years and I never had 30.
I
On
know,
a good
okay.
day, I had 20. So
All right, let
just
me
shortage all the way around.
rephrase. So the law says that you're supposed to have 520 personnel for the jurisdiction of Guam,
Right.
right? And that if you can't meet 70% of that, which is 364, then we're going to use all the resources of our government to help you, right? It's supposed to be, this assignment shall take effect upon, quote, officers on the beat, officers on the street. If cannot maintain requirements of 364 uniformed officers, Maulik will be immediately activated and remain in effect until recommended to cease by the chairperson and approved by both co-chairpersons when the need for augmentation is no longer required. So I'm just saying, I'm asking why we're not effectualizing this. Like, why are we not bringing in the manpower to meet the 364? You're only bringing in 6. Why not more?
From the other agencies?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think they have capacity to give me enough police officers to make 364. We're pretty much having to cut then other areas. I'm trying to figure out the math here.
Well, I'm just reading the law. That's
Senator.
what it says.
Right.
The whole
Senator,
point-
Senator,
yeah.
as the chair of this committee, we are not going to debate Maulik today.
I'm not
We're
debating, I'm
the-
asking
Senator,
how we're going to
Senator,
implement
Senator,
it.
we can have another hearing for that. Please move on. Please,
Yes, so we're
please
going
move
to...
on, Senator.
Yes.
Or I will
I'm reading
stop the
from
hearing.
the page...
Please continue with the budget
Page
discussion,
10
Senator.
of the chief's presentation. I just want to, I'm not debating Malik. I like his idea. We're going to use it as in our narcotics investigation. We're going to take 6 people, though, out of the GPD existing work, assign them there. And are they the current investigation department division?
Yeah, we're using the current narcotics unit and getting the other agencies to fall under the narcotics unit. I'm not putting 6 officers from
All right.
anywhere else. They already exist, and
Okay.
that's their primary duty.
And they're already been doing
That's
this
what
work?
they're doing day in and day out.
So
Yes.
are you going to be replacing them in the investigation division or not?
No, because that's their job already.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they're just going to do their work at some other place?
They're gonna do their
Full-time?
they're just gonna
Okay.
do their work supplemented by the other agencies to increase the numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just suggesting that the law allows you to bring in more from the other agencies. And
Right.
you're supposed to get up to
We-
364.
Yeah, and I also got to respect their operational needs as well. Yeah. No, and we've talked about that with the other agencies because I have asked for 2, and of course they went, like that, and like okay, 1.
Well, we need
Because
it.
as long as you meet the requirements of the law, and if 1 is all you have, then of course I have to report that back and says, hey, that's all they can. Yeah.
All right. Well, it just seems that the law, we are trying to prioritize GPD's work out in the
Understood.
streets. We're trying to prioritize the narcotics interdiction. So whatever it takes.
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
So the mobile command, I heard what you just said about those not being operational and that you want one for yourself, $500,000. I could swear I saw at least 2 or 3 shiny new ones out here when we had the State of the Island address. Homeland Security brought them down. You said you were using a civil defense mobile unit before?
There's only 1 command post that I know of, and that's the mobile command post from the Guam Homeland Security Civil Defense.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they do with those other vehicles. They're big, huge, like trailers with the...
You know what? They could have been from the 94th CST, the military. Yeah. So they're from the 94th Civil Support Team.
Okay, I've seen them at other times too, so
Yeah,
anyways, whatever, but I'm just wondering, so there are no other resources at Homeland Security that you can use for these types of events?
There's no other command post that I know of except that one, which is inoperational.
All right, and so I was really surprised when you said there's no GPD personnel at the Fusion Center. Are you not benefiting from the information that the Fusion Center is making available or learning?
Yeah,
They're
yes.
supposed to be...
We receive situation reports, and we have special event threat assessments, or the CETA. So we get that all the time from them. We are working to find a replacement. Again, the criteria is a little bit more stringent up there because they have to go and pass a federal background investigation, and they have to obtain a certain higher level of clearance. Yeah, I think it's, what's it? They have to get at a minimum the secret clearance, and not everybody can get a secret clearance in the Guam Police Department.
Have you used information from the Fusion Center to interdict narcotics or anything recently?
Not that I'm tracking.
That's, I guess, my concern, right? They seem to be in existence for that, that they're supposed to tell us where the hot spots of crime are, what this kind of data, and they pulled personnel from GFD and other places, but not GPD. It's very interesting to me, and that we are not able to use their information as much as possible. I mean, I'm glad you're getting those reports, but I'm wondering if there's more that they should be able to give you. What's this one? I appreciate your efforts on these other things to get additional funds from other places for the buildings and all of the other requirements in order to keep in your budget ceiling. This part, though, when you said that GPD's Tactical Communications Center is paying rent, where's that?
We're not paying rent. We have a cost share agreement with Civil Defense. We pay for power and water? Power and water up there.
Okay, because I know you were there, and I was wondering why would they be charging you? Okay, so they're charging you for utilities
For
share?
utilities.
All right.
But
So
with
not rental
our
of office space, just
with our new upgrade with the land mobile radio system, we're going to need to co-locate with the next gen 911 system. Yeah, because we do dispatching. So we're going to be moving in with fire once we do we migrate through the new upgrade.
Is that in FY26?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to be moving in down here at DNA building.
And are you going to fit in their
Yes.
currently rented place? Okay, so
Yeah,
no
they actually-
additional
They
rental?
actually already carved out space for us
All
for our dispatchers.
Okay. So I guess my overall concern is just that, like, you know, we've got officers on 12-hour shifts. You're short of manpower. It puts everybody's at risk, you know, and I don't like that. So if we're trying to solve that through the use of a interagency, right, I think we should maximize that. If we need these things that you've listed in here and they're not covered under your existing personnel budget, we need additional officers, then I just think we should try to do that. I don't think those other agencies are doing 12-hour shifts necessarily. I mean, maybe some, but I have never heard them come in and say that, except, you know, of course, Chief Fire Department has different shifts. But yeah, I just think that's a big concern. Whenever we went out to the precincts, they're so small, the number of officers in the precincts. I think that's shocking if people really see that, because it's too small for the size of the villages. It's too small for even the precincts that they're covering, not just a village, but the whole precinct. It's I don't know. So I just think we should continue to focus on that, and I like what you have done, Chief. So I want to encourage you. Don't take this as discouragement. I'm encouraging you. You guys are the ones on the front lines. You guys are dealing with what we want you to deal with. We want the narcotics off the street. We want more manpower for you. We want less lengthy shifts. We want better quality of life for you as well. So all you and your officers. So I'm just saying, if we can do it through these other ways, and let's just keep pushing to do that during FY26 as much as possible. I just think we can do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just Mossy, Senator. So just in closing, I think there's a misconception sometimes in terms of what task forces and groups are about. And Major Chargloff, I know that you in particular, and I just want to explain, if I can just ask you to explain once again what in the past has been the level of CID in the good days in terms of manpower. I understand the good days to be 14 to 16 officers strong in CID.
Right. Actually, with CID in itself, this was back in the 90s when I was there, we were upwards of about 85 officers there.
Wow.
We're now less than half of that. So we're at about a little over 40 uniform officers over at CID. So again, you look at you do the math, right? Population has increased, so there's a growth. So naturally, there's a growth in population. It's going to be an increase in crime. So we had an increase in crime, but we decreased our officers. And like the chief mentioned, he is trying to, recruit. We're trying to do back-to-back cycles. We're getting them out there. But of course, like you mentioned, recruitment challenges. So, but yeah, that's just what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it work. And everything that we're trying to do here, what the chief has proposed is to really to make, our island safer. So, but thank you.
And I just wanted to expand one more time, with the manpower shortage, but then you have the multiple agencies. Doesn't this increase your ability, sharing of intelligence, and the ability to mobilize limited manpower as well, as needed?
Absolutely. And, what better way, right, to deal with the crimes on Guam is putting, and this is just how I've spoken to the guys that when we met with the last Moloch team, I said, it's really kind of like SIS or a narcotics unit on steroids. So and that would definitely, because every crime on Guam has a nexus either directly or indirectly to narcotics. So by us doing this, even with the manpower shortages that we have, it'll at least reduce that. Because and the chief mentioned it, when I was up there, we had 21 bodies there. I got 4 investigators right now at SAS. So by bringing these 6 bodies over, we've more than doubled that. And I can assure you, if we do get those bodies, there's going to be a lot of work done. And why? Because each of these agencies have their specific intelligence information that we can use. So she mentioned customs, but the port police, drugs, we all know. The park police, those guys are encountering people down there at the different parks even after they're closed. So just to close it out with this is that knowing, and I came from, I grew up in the drug, area of the department. And again, if we get this going, I think we'll make a significant impact, even with the shortages that we have. So that's just my take. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that's the vision, really. And we wanted to codify this because, yes, Chief, you can do this anytime. But I remember you saying to us that if I have a law, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I got a trigger. And just once again, Chief, I want you to confirm this because the idea is what you just said earlier. When you have the minimum manpower requirement, that's exactly how you fill out your top-level divisions because you can. You have the manpower. But right now, most of these guys are pulling duty all over the place within that 12 hours because of the manpower issue. So to augment this is simply because if you had 370, then CID, SID, all these others, they'd be up to optimum levels, or at least minimum optimum levels. Would that be correct, Chief?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The more people I have, the more we can do. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senators.
And that's what we learned over time, that the issue really is when you have a depleted force, you really, it's all hands on deck because your priority's got to be in the community. You've got to keep the community safe. You got to have minimum manpower requirements out there, in the precincts, and right now you have to have these 12-hour shifts. There's no other way around it. So I'm trying my best as well. Like I said, congratulating you, and you have the funding this year for your cycle, so that should even give you some overtime flexibility and things like that. But we'll continue to work with you, and we all want that minimum manpower level. So at this point, I want to thank everyone for being here once again. I guess the recruits got to see sometimes how a budget hearing can be very lengthy, and now everybody can go to lunch. So in closing, Chief, and with everyone here, this will conclude the afternoon's budget hearing on Bill 4438 COR relative to the Guam Police Department. The committee will continue to accept written testimony on the bill within 7 calendar days of today, which may be addressed to myself, Senator Christopher M. Dueñas, Chairman of the committee, or mailed to 163 West Chalan Santo Papa, Magaña, 969-1010. You may also send your testimonies to my email at senator.dueñas@guamlegislature.gov. This morning's budget hearing is now adjourned, and the time is 1141. Si Diyos masi, we're adjourned.